It's way too much information for me. I don't know.
I'll actually use your laptop, or your back. I forgot to log my thing out.
time, but, for that meeting. But maybe they talked about it. I don't know where they even put that at. Right.
Good morning. And welcome to the Todd County Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 17th. The time is 9 a.m. Roll call, Commissioner Byers, Commissioner Newman, Commissioner Denny, Commissioner Becker are here. Commissioner Noska is absent, along with our auditor treasurer, and Jolene is stepping in for Denise, and our coordinator is here. We will now stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, we'll go into the consent items. Jolene?
Oh, I'm in the agenda.
Oh, we get amendments, need a motion for the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments?
None known, Madam Chair.
So move.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and carries. And now we'll go into the consent items.
Consent items today are the meeting minute approval for September 3rd, 2024. Hire of a care coordinator, Gina Solomon, start date to be determined. Hire administrative assistant, Victoria Hayes, start date to be determined. A gambling permit for Midwest Outdoors Unlimited, Prairie Partners Chapter with an event date of 11/3/2024. And Staples Chamber of Commerce, one-day temporary on-sale liquor license for event date 10/5/2024.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for approval of the consent items.
I make a motion to approve the consent items.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Jolene?
The first action for the Auditor Treasurer's Office this morning is to approve the commissioner warrants. The printouts have been forwarded for your review. So the recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants in ACH and regular forms for a total of $142,173.64.
Okay, I'd ask for approval for the commissioner warrants of $142,173.64.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Denny, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call?
Commissioner Denny,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Byers,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes.
The next item that our office has today is the Health and Human Services Commissioner warrants. Those printouts have also been provided for your review. The recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants in ACH and regular formats for a total of $326,828.86.
I would ask for a motion for the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants, the amount of $326,828.86.
So moved.
Motion by Byers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call?
Commissioner Byers,
Yes.
Commissioner Denny,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yep.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes.
Thank you. Last item from our office then is the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants. Again, that information has been provided for your review. The recommendation to approve the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants in ACH and regular formats for a total of $78,686.54.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants in the amount of $686.54.
So moved.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call?
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Byers,
Yes.
Commissioner Denny,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go into finance. Jolene?
All right. The first item that's being brought forward by the Finance Committee is the 2025 preliminary levy. The Finance Committee worked diligently with all county departments to prepare a preliminary budget and preliminary levy recommendation to the county board. At the 9/3/2024 work session, the Finance Committee presented a proposal for the 2025 preliminary budget and 2025 preliminary levy. Your options are to approve the attached resolution to set the 2025 preliminary levy as recommended by the Finance Committee with the local levy at $19,111,481, which equates to a 6.58% increase, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve the attached resolution setting the preliminary levy technically at $21,199,245, less those program aids of $2,087,764, certifying the final levy for preliminary at $19,111,481.
Okay. I think a little bit of discussion is, we can set it at this point. We cannot go higher than what we set today, but we can bring it down before the end of the year, correct, Jolene?
Correct, yes.
Okay. With that, I would ask for a motion to set the preliminary levy at $19,111,481.
So moved.
Motion by Byers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just want to thank the Finance Committee and all the staff for working on this budget, and we will continue to work on it and evaluate it, so.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
The second item being brought forward by the Finance Committee is to set the truth and taxation hearing date. The background, Minnesota statute 275.065 requires Todd County to hold a truth and taxation hearing to receive public input regarding the proposed 2025 preliminary levy before its final adoption in December of 2024. So the recommendation has a blank in it that I ask you to fill in to set the truth and taxation hearing for a specific date to begin at 6:00 PM here in the Todd County Commissioners Boardroom.
Okay. Any suggested dates, Jolene?
It cannot be held before law talks of this. The first date we could hold this meeting is November 25th.
Through when?
It's a couple-week window.
Okay. Any suggestions? The 25th would be the last Monday of November.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Noska, who is not in attendance, had asked if we would possibly stay with more of a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, especially if we are looking at that week following Thanksgiving holiday. Just wanted to add that.
Okay.
I would say the 26th of November, because Thanksgiving's the 28th.
Okay. The date is the 26th, which would be a Tuesday, has been brought up. Any other suggestions?
I'd like to go into December, the first week, but
Madam Chair, that
Yes.
first week of December is not AMC week, if I understand correctly.
Yes, it is. It's AMC week.
oh, it is.
will be
Week
in,
after that,
the week after that is AMC?
correct.
Okay.
I know we got board on the 3rd, but, or Wednesday, I guess, too, whatever. I mean, what do you guys have the first week? Thursdays have planning and zoning that night
Okay.
here.
You got conflict with the 26th?
I don't think I'll be around, but
Okay.
I wouldn't be here,
Okay.
which would be great.
No, that's fine. We want to make sure you're here.
I just don't want to do that to you.
So are you going to be around, like, well, we would have a board meeting on the 3rd of December, correct?
Yeah.
No, we've already, Madam Chair, we've already moved that first meeting because we were anticipating AMC was supposed to
AMC.
be that week. So we could technically move the board meeting back if that's the board's wishes for that week, back to Tuesday.
But either way, you know, would you be around that Tuesday night
On that 3rd?
on the
Oh, yeah,
3rd?
yeah, for sure, yeah.
And that did not conflict with Commissioner Nasca?
Madam Chair, there's an extension meeting that night on the calendar.
Oh,
Okay. Another date?
what about that Wednesday at 4th?
How about Wednesday, the 4th?
This room is open on the 4th, Madam Chair.
Okay. Do you see any meetings? Wednesday, the 4th?
You said, Noska said Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? Okay. Bob, what do you have on the 3rd, or on the 4th?
On the 4th, be a Wednesday night.
I'm local, I'm pretty fluid.
Okay.
I think my only thing that will be going on Wednesday nights around here will be a lot of religion stuff,
Yeah.
but I can,
Okay. And the meeting would start at 6.
Yes, that is statutorily directed.
Okay?
Does that work for you guys?
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Okay.
Okay, then I would ask for a motion to fill in the date for the truth and taxation hearing. Someone wants to make a motion with the date?
I'll make the motion for the Wednesday, December 4th, 6 PM.
Okay, I have a motion for the truth and taxation to be held December 4th at 6 PM. Is there a second?
second?
I haven't, any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Okay. Then we'll go on to the county attorney.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize for being late. The item up for discussion and vote today is a grant-funded internship for a college student. Sourcewell has approved, again, for the second time this year, a grant opportunity reimbursing $15 an hour for up to 640 hours for a college student, current college student, to work as an intern in our office, primarily to scan old paper documents so we can digitally store them per our data retention policy. Because we had no success the last time that this was advertised, we thought that increasing the salary offered might attract more candidates. We have forfeiture funds available to add an additional $5 per hour, which would make the total internship salary offering $20 an hour. So the board has the option of approving or not approving county attorney's request to post this internship at $20 per hour for up to 32 weeks or 640 hours. The recommendation is that the board approve this request. I did notice prior to the meeting that it looks like the internship reimbursement, that information that's attached addresses a Morrison County grant approval, but I'm confident that the county coordinator will confirm that Sourcewell did indeed approve the county attorney's office here in Todd County for this grant again, and that we just have the wrong paperwork.
That's correct.
correct.
Sourcewell has approved it.
Okay. With that, is there any discussion, first of all? I would ask for a motion to approve the county attorney's request to post for an internship at $20 an hour for up to 32 hours, partial payment coming from Sourcewell, and the rest of it's coming from the county attorney's forfeit funds available to add.
So moved.
A motion by Danny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Facilities? Morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, Mitch.
The first one is a professional services contract for the cupola and trim on the historic courthouse. The background is the Facilities Committee is recommending a professional services contract with Winseth for the cupola and trim on the historic courthouse. Both areas are in need of repair or replacement. Winseth will be assisting with the SHPO portion and the construction documents of this project at a total cost of $20,927. The options are to approve the request to hire Winseth for the professional services contract of the cupola and trim on the historic courthouse for a total of $20,927, or do not approve the request. The recommendation to the Todd County Board of Commissioners is to approve the request to hire Winseth for the professional services contract of the cupola and trim on the historic courthouse for a total of $20,927.
Okay, is there a motion for approval to hire Winseth for professional services for the cupola and trim on the historic courthouse in the amount of $20,927?
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion. This has been a long trek coming. We've been working on this for several years.
We have, and it because it's an historic building, it obviously adds complications to it. And this is why we're needing some of the professional services to help us get through this process as most efficient as possible. I have been in contact due to the rock wall project that we're doing, and had conversations to start the conversations with SHPO, as the Minnesota Historical Society. So we will be eager to get started. We're hoping to get some resolutions and some stuff done this summer, coming up in 2025. So that's the hope of the process right now. That's why we want to get a professional services contractor on board.
You're right. It'll probably take us till,
It's going to take some time.
hopefully it'll be in 2025
Yeah,
that it will get
that's the
done.
hope. That's the hope.
Okay, with that, I'd ask for a motion. I got a motion. Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carries. And then we'll go into the rock wall.
So my second item up is the rock wall project additional work. The background on the project is the rock wall project is underway and has found a few different items that are in need of being addressed. I'll speak more to it when we go through a little bit of slides that I've attached that Jolene will help us with, but I'm going to just read all the options first. The options are to approve the request for all attached items from Boulder Creek Incorporated. The option 2 is to approve the request of some selected items from Boulder Creek, or do not approve the request. The recommendation of the Todd County Board of Commissioners is to approve the request for all attached items from Boulder Creek. And I've added in the comments, where this funding will be coming from, because this is part of the ARPA funds that we'd use this for. We'll be looking to utilize the building improvement funds for this, and it also lists the amount that is in that, currently in that account. Thank you, Jolene, for providing me with that information and up-to-date information. So I'm gonna just go up to the board, or the screen. If you could scroll down to the attachments, I will walk us through. This is just a total breakdown of the costs. The proposal number, what they are, what they're dealing with, those type of things. Obviously, the safety railing is $13,350. The plaza area drains is $32,165. North end drain tile and drainage is $32,165, and north end signage is $12,935. This is basically what I'm guessing is somebody did this together for them, because they're very similar in the work collected. They just split it up for us, because this is obviously bought by a subcontractor for a total cost of $90,605. And I will better explain if you could just go to the next attachments, Jolene. Okay, so scroll down, but if you could. So for the fencing area, I've just included this dotted line. This is where the fencing is now required. Why are we required to do this now? This never had fencing before. Is because now we're resetting these granite stones, which are in need of replacement. Therefore, puts us in violation of OSHA code, which means the step down from this flat area here, this flat area here to this flat portion here is greater than 3 feet, so it's a safety hazard, which requires us to now be up to safety code. We had a conversation with the Historical Society about this when they were here this last week, Wednesday, I think, or Thursday, can't remember the date, and they were okay with it. We're sending off the information to them, so they were aware of this, that this change is coming due to safety. So that is what that is about. The next slide, Jolene, if you would please. This is the drainage. There are 4 drains, one here, here, and here. These 4 locations. In excavation, we basically found that those drains were collapsed, and that's something you're not going to know until you start the project. And with finding those drains, right now we have to find a solution. So the solution that we're kicking around right now is we're basically going to cut the concrete out, just in portions. They will both now be new drainage, and they will drain out onto this flat portion here, which is getting a new rubber membrane and also has new drainage on it as well. So that's why we're opting for that. It's probably the most simplest solution, if you will. The only problem is we have to core through the wall, we have to get excavation, and those things obviously come with a price tag. So that is that portion of it. The first $32,165. If you could scroll down, Jolene, again, or go to the next slide. Scroll down, please. Thank you. Okay, with that being said, we have found underneath this water as well in these areas and this area. The dirt that is in here is not as susceptible to drainage as the dirt on this side of the hill. Therefore, the recommendation is from our contractor is to add drainage underneath the sidewalks in these locations, and then there'll be a drainage pipe that runs along. And Julie, can you scroll to the west side? We currently have a catch basin in this corner that we've added because of this project, and we have drain tile running along and drainage pipe running from the plaza area over into a catch basin here, and from the south side to this catch basin, and that has to tie into the street. A lot of people would ask, why don't we just tie into the street right here? Well, for one, then we gotta have manhole covers, there's a lot of things we gotta go around. And this sidewalk is all, remind you, coming out due to this project. So we're gonna run it when we remove the sidewalk. We're gonna put the piping in, tie it in the drain that's already has to go to the street, and add it at that current location. It adds a little bit extra work, but at the same time, it should be a little bit easier in a retrospect because we're already dealing with the sidewalk, already dealing with that, and that keeps us away from with our drainage, communication, wiring, gas lines, those type of things. It's just a safer access to that portion. We've also been in contact with the city. I've had contact with Chad Basil, the city maintenance, and he has approved this. We just have to update him with the plan that we have. We'll also have cleanouts along the way so we can access those things, okay? And then my last slide for you, if you will, Jolene, please. This is the sign that is currently out the north side. Underneath where this light is located is white painted as well. It's flaking, chipping, it needs to be repainted. The best way to do this is to sandblast it down, repaint it, add a new coloring to this. We're going this far to have a sign that just doesn't look good, it doesn't represent what we're doing in this project. Is in the best interest of the county to redo it. We can't paint it ourselves. We're not going to get the same product if we totally strip it with sandblasting. We tried that same solution out at the Expo building when we did that, and we ended up redoing it. So this is the best solution for the best product in the end. So those are the 4 items that we're talking about. I just wanted to give you guys a visual aspect of it because I thought that it was important for you to see visually what we're talking about. So.
Okay. I'd ask for a motion for the Rockwall project additional work, and as you've seen the prices and so forth.
So move.
Okay, motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion.
Yes, Madam Chair, if we're gonna do it, we gotta do it right. I mean, it's been leaking for
Forever.
30 years plus, so.
Yeah, I don't like coming back for these things. I don't, I really don't. It's just unfortunate, but we're doing the best we can to deal with what we have. Anytime you're in type of a process like this, we're opening up things that are prior. You just never know what you're gonna find. You hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and that's what we're doing. Thankfully, we have the funding to be able to add this additional work. I would also like to mention too that this project is in the toughest stage right now. We started on the north end, which is definitely the worst end of the project, if you will, and the most expensive side of things. So, with that being said, that's why we're finding a lot of these problems quicker than later. So we're hoping that this tends to simmer down a little bit, and hopefully we'll run a little bit smoother going forward. So.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I'm gonna add one more thing. I just want the public to know that this is not on their taxes.
Absolutely not.
This is ARPA grant funding and then some reserves that we have.
Correct. We are utilizing, obviously, our building improvement accounts, which has $1,616,632, we've been able to build that because of ARPA funds, so we're not putting any additional stress on their taxpayers.
Thank you.
And I think along with that is the roofing, all the roofing projects that were done this year, that was all ARPA funding.
Correct.
So, and that's why that amount is.
Yeah, and we were
Where
very
is that?
fortunate with the Justice Center project. We did, for the most part, stay on budget, which was less than, I think, a 2.5% overages on those. So that ran really well. We're really happy.
Right, okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you, Mitch. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, my first item this morning is for the Arnold and Chris Greenis request for CUP, an application for CUP to expand an existing feedlot from 999 animal units to 2,190 animal units on parcel 0300262201 in Burchell Township was submitted on July 8th. Application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the August 1st and September 5th public hearings. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions identified below. Option to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings, and deny the CUP or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following conditions. Number one, that all land application setbacks and Minnesota 7020 rules pertaining to the storage and handling of manure be followed. Two, soil phosphorus tests shall be supplied to the county in addition to the MPCA in compliance with the NPDES permitting. Soil phosphorus testing shall be completed by Bray or Olson tested methods only. Three, there shall be no applications of commercial phosphorus fertilizers to high phosphorus testing fields. Four, applicant shall obtain NPDES permitting from the state of Minnesota prior to additional stocking of open lots. Three, applicant must obtain Minnesota DNR waters withdrawal permitting prior to additional stocking of open lots. Six, all lighting on the site shall be adjusted to prevent casting of light beyond the feedlot site. And seven, that the applicant must abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion for the approval of the Arnold and Chris, what's their last name?
Greenis?
Greenis request for a CUP.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion?
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Oh, go ahead.
can you give me more background on this operation? Like, it's in Birchdale, I see. I see it's animal units. Is this a bird operation?
This is, I think they have dairy heifers or feeders
yeah.
of smaller animals there. So the background to it and why they're going up so much is they're not actually making any changes to the site at all, but their lots that they have on the site are large enough to handle the capacity they're requesting here. So MPCA has come in and said, you're inappropriately permitted, you need to update your permit, which then kicks them into the county CUP process also to have those things match.
Madam Chair, I got a question.
Yeah.
Was there any correspondence with Birchdale Township?
They actually attended the meeting, the first meeting. I think there were 2 or 3 supervisors that were at the meeting and spoke. And their concern was mostly with the County 99, the gravel road to it would be east of this site. That was what a lot of their concern consisted of. And so in that process, Lauren did a traffic study of that area and found that the traffic on that road far exceeded the county's policy on what requires dust control compared to what previously they had done a number of years ago was under that standard. So they're applying dust control just because the standard the traffic on the road is already exceeding the county standard.
Yeah, because I had a constituent contact me about a month and a half prior to this.
Sure.
With concerns on 99, and Lauren and I started the conversation, and then when I come up the first time, it was like, well, maybe we need to take a look at that. So we did put the counters out there to get an idea what the traffic count was, which initiated at the fall meeting, we'll discuss 99 being on the chloride.
Yep. And that's the plan for next spring is that Lauren and his staff will get that road taken care of.
But it would have been nice to have Birchdale send us something in writing, whether, just to have it in writing, so we know that it was discussed.
Go ahead.
Actually, Commissioner Newman, they did. Birchdale Township did sign off and affirm that they were in support of it. So I think, Adam, you have that correspondence.
Right, I have that, and they signed the application. We require that in this process now that I went to the township board on this date, and the chair can sign it, just acknowledging at least that they presented that. So we have that in the application, and then they attended the meeting in person on the first meeting was at August 5th or whatever that was. And then when we brought this back, because there was questions on 2 things, was the dust control. So the planning commission wanted to get some input from Lauren, so we got that. And then secondly, they had a question on the manure application and the record keeping process. So I reached out to coordinate with MPC and got that information for the board also. So that was the reason it was tabled, and then got that information and they make the recommendation for approval with those conditions to this point.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, next, the Taylor's Woods, 3rd edition preliminary plat. An application for subdivision to create 3-lot plat on parcel 11-00-80100 in Gray Eagle Township was submitted on July 31st, 2024. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the September 5th public hearing. Final recommendation for the Planning Commission was to approve the preliminary plat with the conditions below. Options are approve this preliminary plat with the conditions below, develop findings, and deny the preliminary plat or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and approve the preliminary plat with the conditions below. 1, that new accesses from Township Road shall be approved by local township prior to installation. 2, new access location shall be approved by Todd County Wetland staff to verify there are no impacts to wetlands. And 3, that the applicant abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for approval of the Taylor Woods 3rd additional preliminary plot.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion.
Again, anything on township on this?
Yeah, they went to the township prior to the meeting, but the township did not attend, or I don't believe they submitted anything in this too, but the applicant presented it to the township. We have verification that they did do that prior to submitting the application. So that would indicate to me that the township had no concerns with the application.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, next, Robert Harguth, request for CUP, an application for CUP to establish a farm produce sales business on parcel 10-00-28800 in Gordon Township was submitted on July 10th. It was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the September 5th public hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings, and to deny the CUP or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, grant the CUP with the following conditions. Number one, off-street parking shall be provided for all business traffic. 2, all business signage shall be placed outside of the road right-of-way. And 3, the applicant abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, I ask for a motion for the Robert Hartheth request for CUP.
Madam Chair, I'll move, grant the cup with the proposed conditions.
Okay, a motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, the Henry Slaybaugh request for CUP, an application for a CUP to establish a custom machining, repair, and a general job shop on parcel 21-00-31400 in Round Prairie Township was submitted on August 13th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the September 5th public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings to deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, off-street parking shall be provided for all business traffic. 2, there should be no loading or unloading of materials within the road right-of-way. 3, all business signage shall be placed outside the road right-of-way. And 4, the applicant abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, I ask for a motion for the Henry,
Slaybaugh.
thank you, request for CUP.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion. And your motion was to grant?
Sorry,
correct?
yes, with the conditions, yep.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, Kurt Weishair, I think that's how you say it. I'm not so confident on this one. Request for CUP, an application for CUP was to establish a barber shop on parcel 22-00-9300 in Staples Township, submitted on August 13th. Application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the September 5th public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with those proposed conditions, develop findings, and deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, that off-street parking shall be provided for all business traffic. 2, all business signage shall be placed outside the road right-of-way. And 3, the applicant abide by all the applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, I ask for a motion for the Kurt Wershaw, CUP.
So moved.
Motion by Byers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny, and that's for approval, correct?
That's for granting, yes.
Yes.
Grant.
Okay. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, and lastly, Alex Hoffman, request for CUP, an application for a CUP to expand an existing auto repair business by approximately 2,650 square feet on parcels 14-00-30502 and 14-00-31501 was submitted on August 15th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the September 5th public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings to deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, off-street parking shall be provided for all business traffic. 2, all business signage shall be placed outside the road right-of-way. 3, all waste and automotive fluids shall be disposed of in a manner that complies with all applicable federal, state, and local standards. And 4, the applicant to abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion for the Alex Hoffman request for CUP.
Madam Chair, I'll move to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions.
Okay, a motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion?
Where's this located?
Just south of Ferry Lake.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I'd like to add to that, that we've had 3 small businesses today that are out in rural areas
Yeah,
that have been doing fairly well.
yeah, that's interesting, because there was comments about the fact that it seemed like Todd County wasn't very business-friendly recently, but this is great news.
It is.
Good job.
Alex is busy. He hires 3, 4 staff people. He needs the space.
Yep,
Yep.
He made the comment that he's not advertising because they're just so busy right now.
he is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Then we'll go into the county sheriff. Yeah.
Pretty painless, we review for a title change. New industry standards change title change from dispatcher to public safety and health communicator. This change better reflects the working title and job description. Change from title dispatch to public safety communicator, or do not change from public safety or dispatch to public safety. The Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following motion by changing the position from title from dispatch to the new industry standard to public safety communicator.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to ask Jackie, this has all gone through HR, correct?
Yes.
All of these,
Yes.
both of these have?
Yes.
Okay. With that, I'd ask for a motion for change of title for the 911 dispatcher to public safety telecommunicator.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion.
I got a quick question. I mean,
Yes.
I don't, it seems very simple. I'm sure it is very simple, but it's just a change, like, more people are having this title nowadays than this, or that's,
Yeah, that's what it is, but
That'd
it's
be
more or
in a-
less, it's a simple, to keep up with the standards of the times, we're changing the name from this to this now because this reflects
Yeah.
better what their job title, what they do.
Yeah.
So, it's just, it's a nationwide standard, we're just following. It has nothing, it won't affect their salary, their job description, anywhere in the ranks, files.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. You got another one?
Yep, another one, sorry, didn't know if you were there. This, same one, this will be for the dispatch supervisor. New industry standards and title has changed from dispatch supervisor to emergency communications center supervisor. This change better reflects the working title for job description. Change title from dispatch supervisor to emergency communications center supervisor, or do not change the title from dispatch supervisor to emergency communications supervisor. Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following motion: change position title from dispatch supervisor to the new industry standards of emergency communications center supervisor.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for the change of position title from dispatch supervisor to emergency communication center supervisor.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion. And that's the same as the last. It's just the change.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Good morning.
Morning.
Turn on your microphone. All right, we have one BIF to present here in front of you, and I have Catherine for details if you have any questions, but some background. The Todd County Opioid Settlement Advisory Council has developed a community request for proposals. The applications will be accepted by the public and private organizations serving Todd County residents from October 8th, 2024 through December 20th, 2024. The applicants will be required to complete the online applications process, which includes organizational information, project narrative, work plan, budget, and budget narrative, and letters of support if desired. And again, that has been attached, and this is to approve the opioid settlement community request for proposal, the RFP. Your options are to allocate $200,000 to the 2024 opioid settlement community RFP. Option number 2, to not allocate any funds to the community RFP, or option number 3, to allocate a different amount to the community RFP. It's our recommendation you allocate $200,000 to the 2024 opioid settlement community RFP.
Sure. Thank you, guys. We have currently $347,000 in our fund balance, and the required $27,000 in the backstop, which is a 7% set aside. So we're requesting $200,000. We think that's the right amount to get a diverse sample and have enough funding to hopefully fund many projects. I want to thank GIS, specifically Doug, for doing a very nice online application process for us. He put it together through his software. Very simple, we like to think, but we're also asking them to, give us enough information so we can make a good decision. Our suggestion is the grant awards will be made in the amount of $1,000 to $50,000. And then again, if we were to allocate $200,000, we would fund up to that amount based on the number of applications we receive. The plan is to have the advisory council review those in January and then present to board in February.
Okay, so you won't hand out any applications until after you receive them all and gone through them and then divide them out, who you want to receive them?
We won't review any applications until after.
you receive them all.
Correct. If they could submit them October 8th through December 20th, but we won't review until after December 20th.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the opioid settlement community request proposal?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Second by Byers. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. And thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go into standing reports. Auditor Treasurer, and I guess at this point, I'd like to, recognize with Denise and her family and what they're going through right now. So.
Certainly, Madam Chair. The only item that I would mention on behalf of the Auditor Treasurer's Office today is the fact that absentee voting for the 2024 general election opens this Friday, September the 20th. Ballots are scheduled to arrive today, just in time. So if persons are looking to request an absentee ballot, any person residing in Todd County should work through the county office to receive those ballot materials, receive applications in order to get those ballot materials, etc. There's information on our county website, or people can certainly contact our office, phone, email, stop in, and we'll gladly assist them with whatever they need.
Okay, thank you. Jolene?
Have you seen I'm sorry, Madam Chair, have you seen an uptick in or any trends on absentee this year?
It is a little bit higher trend starting out so far for comparing to 2022. Comparing to the last presidential 2020 times with COVID and a lot of at-home voting, that is a very hard thing to compare to. But yes, we are in a little bit higher request trend starting out the gate compared to 2 years ago. but we are ready.
Okay.
Thank you. County Attorney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I personally have been busy with a lot of county business, not related necessarily to criminal prosecution or cases in court, but other things that the public, the board is well aware of. So we're just staying afloat, doing the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. County Coordinator?
I'd like to take my time here to talk about just 3 events that are coming up. First of all, this Thursday is EnviroFest, and that has been going on for 25 years. It's for Todd County 6th graders, and there will be, I believe, close to almost 350 6th graders attending the Dale and Marie Catterhagen Farm, where they get to do a lot of hands-on educational events. The Science Museum will be there, and that's just outside of Browerville from 9:30 to 2. The next event that I'd like to highlight is actually, Jolene's going to pull up a flyer, and that is we will be having a free event on September 25th, which is next week at 7 o'clock at the Browerville Community Center, and there will be a presenter from SciTech Broadband talking about broadband concerns in Todd County, and there will be coffee and cookies and some door prizes, and anyone is invited to stop and learn more about broadband internet. We'll have 2 more dates too, where we will have CTC talking and RVIC, but next week is SciTech, and that's the 25th of September at 7 o'clock. The last event I'd like to highlight, information will be going out to our cities and townships, and Adam Ossifort from the Planning and Zoning Office and myself are planning an event on Thursday, October 1st at 3 o'clock. This event will be live streamed, and this is going to be a dialogue on cannabis business licensing and just gathering input from our Todd County cities and townships to talk about drafting a cannabis licensing ordinance and gather what their feedback is. And that's Thursday, October 1st at 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go into commissioners. Commissioner Byers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. See, where do I start here? So we had, last week we had facilities and got to participate in department head meeting. We just talked to opioid, had that meeting also. Was able to attend the Minnesota Rural Conference, which was before our AMC conference at Arrowwood, which is really interesting because Tori Westrom spoke about something called LRRCC. Make sure I got that right. Legislative Citizen Commission on Minnesota Resources, which is important because there's some legislation coming up that would limit the amount of funding that outstate Minnesota gets for septic repairs and for wastewater. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that to make sure that we get that funding. This organization, they fund hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects. Interestingly, the top 3 funding winners are the University of Minnesota, the DNR, and MPCA. Take that for what it is. What else happened? So then we had AMC, which was a great conference. We learned about other counties, what they're doing and whatnot. Last thing I want to talk about is wellness. We met with wellness yesterday, and we have, I want to, hopefully everyone in the county, our employees are listening to this, but we have fairly good participation in our wellness program through Sourcewell called WellRite. They signed up, but not a lot of people actually use it. So you can earn extra dollars towards your HSA by participating in this program. And when we participate in it, we get the funding for our wellness committee to host events that we do. And we are not making our goals. So things like the picnic, that get funded by that, the holiday stuff, webinars, we'll be short next year unless we see in Q4 a drastic pickup of those things. So I would encourage all county employees to talk to Nellie or myself or Jackie or any other board member, committee member at the Wellness Committee and try to up your participation in that program because it's free money. for you and for the county, so that's it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Denny?
Just to pose my other meetings, one stood out this week was over at Todd County Solid Waste. Mike really gave me a thoroughly walkthrough of the building projects over there, which was nice to see a lot of concrete being poured finally. Starting to get a little bit closer to back on track as far as timeline wise. Just taking advantage of the nicer weather. Also, then I attended a meeting over in Douglas County with Commissioner Newman last week as well, and that was good to go over there with him. So, other than that, that's nothing else new.
Okay, Commissioner Newman?
Yes, Madam Chair. On Thursday, the 5th, I had a Central Minnesota Council on Aging Zoom meeting, and we were informed there was a proposal for a production model change which affects Eagle Bend Kitchen, and it affects basically most of Region 5, or in fact all of Region 5 of Cass, Crow Wing, Morrison, Todd, Wadena. They are looking at installing a walk-in freezer, and then they would distribute the frozen meals throughout Region 5 from Eagle Bend. And, excuse me, they were looking for funding for that freezer, and I believe the cost of that freezer was somewhere around $160,000. So I suggested that they look into Region 5 for funding, or Sourcewell, or some other funding. Central Minnesota Council on Aging, that's a lot of money that would hit us because we are federally and state funded only. So with that, we'll just continue, and I'll keep you guys informed of what's going on there. On the 6th, I had a Rainbow Rider meeting in Lowry, and that was, we put the Alec Bus Barn back out for bids the second time. The first time, the paperwork kind of got lost in the shuffle, and the state rejected it. So we had to turn around and put it back out for bids. So we awarded that one, and this time it's with a different contractor. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So on the 8th, I had personnel. The 10th, JD2 meeting in Alec. I had a Zoom meeting with CPT personnel. Wednesday, department head, park board, and then Thursday, AMC, Friday, AMC. And AMC was, again, interesting, and as always, sat in on general government. I think the biggest focus right now is the Metro is pushing affordable housing. I'm still trying to figure out how you come up with affordable housing when you spend millions upon millions of dollars, but I thought it was a good conference, and that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. For myself, I attended the Planning and Zoning meeting on the 5th of September. Also attended the Rainbow Rider meeting with Randy in Lowry. And actually, the bids came back, and they were actually higher, different contractor, but they came back slightly higher than what it was before. Attended corrections meetings on the 9th. And on the 9th, we also had personnel, excuse me, and finance. On the 10th, I attended the facility meeting, and the 12th, AMC, and the meetings I attended was in public safety and corrections. With that, is there anything to come before the board?
You know what, can I mention something, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I know we had a email recently about AMC and their potential increases in their
Yes.
dues and whatnot. And it's the importance of AMC that I've seen in my first year is this: the connections and the ability to get information is really, really good. I totally forgot about this. Jackie and I had breakfast with Nicole Bierke, who used to be the CentraCare Foundation director.
Right.
Lives in Alexandria area and was in Long Prairie quite a bit. Anyway, she now works for Sourcewell, and she brought us some really interesting projects that Region 5's looking at, which Todd County could be a potential candidate for. One was mental health things, the other one was scientific startups, medical scientific startups, which I know we're known for agriculture here, but, you know, you look at the amount of land mass we have here, there's plenty of room to put businesses into, so, you know, as we consider AMC for next year, there's a lot of good that comes out of being members of that program.
And like you said, Bob, I think it's the connections between the commissioners, you know, and all the people that are there. I mean, sometimes you get more information from your meals or after the meetings. Yeah, it's just the connections that you get there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Any further business to come in front of the board? If not, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn until October 1st.
So, second?
Okay, motion by Byers, second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Do you guys want a few minutes before work session? Okay,
Please, that's
we'll
great.
just take a few minutes before work session, and then we'll go right into work session. Yes. Okay, I think the first item on here is Parks and Trails.
Yep.
If you guys would like to come forward, sit by the microphones.
Yeah, Les.
And I don't know, Mitch, if you want to come up too, because this is talking about the attendant, correct?
Yeah.
We've had
Okay, thank you.
a lot of conversations in this position.
Yep.
So Randy, if you want to go ahead.
Gentlemen, if you guys want to introduce yourself, please, and we will start the conversation.
I'm Al Loken. I'm a member of the Park Board from Long Prairie.
Lee Christopherson, member of the Park Board, actually Secretary Treasurer of the Board, from Osakis.
Les Levine, member of the Park Board, Long Prairie.
And obviously, I'm Mitch Johnson. I'm the facilities manager, and this is just, the discussion on this has recently been shifted in my direction as a facilities manager as of probably 3 days ago, so.
So at the park board meeting the other night, we had a discussion and thought it was probably best if you guys come in and explain your needs with the park and trails. So go ahead.
I guess the main thing is just more help. We need help out there just keeping things up to board, on board, and repairs, mowing lawn, which we take care of ourselves right now, but in the future, by next spring, we'd like to have somebody on board if we could to help put the docks in and do all the maintenance work out there and take care of the park. We're running out of people,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think this has gone from all different aspects, you know, because we approved to hire a person for this position, but it's what's needed and what do we, you know, it's a part-time person needed? I mean, can we get by with just summer help, I guess? Some other questions?
Well, I think that one of the challenges that we have as a board member is the organizational chart, all right? So really what we have today, was sufficient when we had a $5,000 budget. Now, our budget has went all the way up to $25,000, and compared to other counties, that's probably not a whole lot of money. But with that comes some challenges, and one of the challenges is to have somebody that we can rely on for a lot of our maintenance and somebody and eye on our facilities. And hopefully in time, we basically have one facility, and that facility is Battle Point. But hopefully through osmosis, we will end up having other areas in other commissioners' areas. And when we have that, we need to be prepared. And if we're not prepared, we're destined to fail. And I think at this point, we got to get positioned so we have an organizational chart that we're not relying on a commissioner or one of the park board to come in and fulfill that duty. And we're not really looking for a name of a person. We're looking for more of a job description. Here's where this person fits. And I really think it probably is going to fall upon the commissioners to find out who that person's going to, you know, answer to and everything else. Our input should be, this is what we're going to need. And we're probably going to need something on a seasonal worker that'll have the majority of the time that'll be spent for the park board on things that we need, such as mowing that Les brought up, and, you know, small maintenance, putting in the dock, and doing things like that. When we end up with projects other than just something local, and we have something at Bertha Hewitt, or we have an Eagle Bend, or wherever it is, I don't think we're going to have the opportunity of people on the park board to run up there and see what's going on. So how you guys define that position will determine what percentage that we would need at our battle point. And I don't think it's something where we need somebody there all the time. Now, there's other areas that person could end up covering, but that's not our challenge. Our challenge is the park board. And other committees are gonna have to come back and say, we need somebody 1 day a week or whatever. And that's probably, it's pretty hard for us to point out and say, this is exactly what we need today. But I know what we have today basically is not working, all right? And so what is the long-term effect if we don't have that? So what are we gonna do? If we lose a key person, then we're just gonna be ineffective and we're gonna disappear. And now the history of this park board was that we wanted local control. We did not want state control. We did not want the DNR coming in here telling us what they're gonna do. We wanted to have something that was for the residents of Todd County and the surrounding areas, all right? And we need to position ourselves organizationally now so we can achieve that goal. And the worst thing that I don't want to see, and I don't think a lot of people want to see this, is completely turn everything over to the county so the county ends up with another several people working for them and sticking a whole lot of money in there. Because what we're doing right now, we have a budget that's all the way up to only $25,000. And with $25,000, I think we've had the commissioners out there and had the opportunity to see what we have done. And I think the conversations that I had with the majority of you guys is that we're pretty proud of what we did. And for us to be more successful in the future, we need to request this position so we have somebody that we can rely on. So when there's 1 or 2 people that are leaving the organization and the board who we depend on, it's more about a job description than an individual. And I think that's what we need to move forward today. And I guess at this point, commissioners, we're just basically asking you guys how you want to facilitate that person and have that person report to whoever, but give us the opportunity to say, hey, we got something on a mowing that we want to do. Now, there's things that could be done. And one of those things that was in the past done is we ended up subcontracting some of this out, all right? That has not always been successful in our point of view. And if you can subcontract things out, which is fine, but the only problem is then we're missing that position that can go back and evaluate the performances that are happening and how they're happening. And we had some failures when we did that. And that would be one of the considerations that I hope the commissioners consider when they're looking at how they're going to fill that organization void. First of all, I think we've accomplished a lot through our time. And Lee and I have been on there since, what, 2008, Lee?
Yes.
We've been on there since 2008, and we started out, like I said, with $5,000. And now we're at 25. And if you take a look at surrounding counties, they're spending a lot more than that. And in my opinion, in some ways, not accomplishing for the residents, your people that you represent as much as we are. So we're asking for help in the organizational put together and who we can rely on and who we need to talk to and how that can work. So with that, thank you for listening to us, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to be successful with this board. And I think it's important that we have a local board that represents the needs of the people and what can be done locally without going to the DNR, and then pretty soon you realize what'll happen. We had that in the past.
Okay, commissioners, comments?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Madam Chair? Al, if I could, what do you anticipate, like, seasonal work? What is seasonal work to you? Is it April through October? Is it May through September, what kind of season are we looking at, to give us a better picture of what to do? And then
somebody
how
there
many,
all year round.
how many hours is it?
We need somebody there all year round too, because, yes, there's no mowing in the winter,
Okay,
but we do have a bathroom there
okay,
that needs to be cleaned, because, you know, even when you're out ice fishing, they still use, yes, if it's 20 below, they still sit down on that cold thing, but they still need to be cleaned. Toilet paper, excuse me, toilet paper and everything else needs to be taken care of. So there's still a little bit of upkeep between, you know, the November and April time.
okay,
Usually we go from April to October, November.
okay.
I mean, the garbage is pulled out
Till right after deer hunt.
right deer hunting, or November 1 is when we pull the garbage out of there. So no more service until April. So,
Okay.
but we need somebody, just minor stuff.
Those April to October are your, I'm gonna call it a little bit higher traffic areas.
Yeah, we try to do it because, you know, open and fishing.
Yep.
If you ever been there opening and fishing, you can't drive in there. It's packed.
The docks need to be put in ahead of time.
Yep, and the docks need to be in by April 1, or when the ice out. It's just mainly upkeep of the park and other facilities. I mean, we're not asking for a position just solely for Battle Point Park.
What do you see on the Park Point side? What do you see hours per week that I'm getting it gives us an idea of if this is a seasonal position, how we're gonna fill in their extra time and
Couple
what
hours,
time
at least
we're.
for mowing.
Okay,
And then of course, we're on the point, so there's trees, limbs that come down. That's another one that, you know, if a tree goes down, are we gonna get sent to the service, get out there, and what's their schedule? So we're kinda under their beck and call there.
What would you say, 10 hours a week maybe?
Maybe,
10 hours.
maybe
Okay.
10 hours, yeah.
That's what I
I'm
think.
just trying to put it
Yeah,
on
I know.
And other,
time slot
any
of-
other
or time
maintenance
shot
that
of what
needs to
we're-
be done.
Okay.
The biggest one right now, also, we need a contact for, if somebody's gonna use the pavilion, and if they, you know, if it's an event, you know, a wedding or something like that, we need a point of contact.
Okay.
And this last summer, I was gone for a couple of weeks, and they called me into what they wanted to use the pavilion. There is no mechanism there to say, okay, it's reserved, and if they call the auditor treasurer, they'll know. We need some kind of point of contact, so that's possibly this facility person could be a point of contact also. And then they'll know, okay, we got an event going on, they can go out and make sure that, you know, the pavilion's clean. And it's not all
And the
sticky.
bathroom's clean
And the
ahead of time,
bathroom's clean, yes. So 10 hours is probably gonna be ample for a week.
I think-
But it will flex too. If there's more things to be done, there'd be some more time.
I think that's true for this moment in time, but if we have the opportunity to have more projects at different parts of the county, then we probably need to look forward and say, at some point in time, if we have something in the different areas, that we're working with whoever's in that organizational chart to expand or do something else with that position.
It depends on what department, if it falls under public works or facilities, that's, you know, figure that, but.
We do with our Public Works Department as a facilities manager, we do work very well with our Public Works Department on sharing tasks back and forth. If we have in need of equipment or in need of somebody to operate, you know, we're all taxpayer dollars. We tend to try to work as best we can together.
That was the
to
concern I
accomplish
had,
goals.
if you, facilities is facilities, okay? But also, you gotta look at the other side too. We have a dirt parking lot, or we need something moved. Now you need heavy equipment. Facility doesn't have that, public works does.
Yep.
So now we gotta go, okay, which one is it gonna be?
And currently, you know, the county is doing snow removal on the whole parking lot and everything else, so it's not like we're in charge of snow removal. It's not like we're in charge of fixing this thing that's going on. Our expertise is not what we have to do legally. It's also, that would be something that somebody else is gonna have to step in with their credentials and take a look and say, hey, you know what? you can and you can't do that. You're so close to the lake, you're doing that currently, but in time, you might be close to a river or whatever. So I think you guys you guys being the county would have a much more ability to tap into those resources.
Yeah.
You know, one of the just a couple comments. One is, I mean, I would like us to keep control locally of our parks and trails too. I'm not in favor of having any state organization or DNR dip their toes in that pool at this point. The other point is, you know, not that it's above or below anybody, myself included, doing this thing, but having commissioners or board members put in docks and using their own equipment, to me, seems a little bit like somewhat of a, I don't want to say a liability, but possibly, you know. I've put in docks before and, you know, dang near broke my arms on coming because they were old steel docks that were heavy as, you know, heck. So I don't know how hard that process is, but it's not a little dock, that's for sure. So I think there's a lot to consider here, and I think you're right, Al, that, you know, kind of what we got to have is a job description or duties they're going to do, you know, the events that they're responsible to schedule, whether that stays with auditor, treasurer, or whatnot. And it sounds like this is a good starting point. I mean, Mitch is asking all the right questions as far as I'm concerned, and you're giving the answers, so we'd like to figure it out.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you know, obviously, we're looking for somebody to start in the spring is what we're hoping to. And I think we just take it back, again, to, you know, I think Public Works being involved in this conversation, Lauren Feldbaum, a couple of commissioners, possibly some of the park board members, and maybe we get to a point where we sit down and figure out what our job duties are gonna be as part of those job duties, what the county's gonna provide. And then come back to the park board and say, these are what we're recommending, or this is what we're looking at. What do you think of this? And that'll give us an idea of where we wanna go. So you guys have a list?
Yeah,
Okay.
100, I mean, 100%. We want to get to the end result. It's just, we just don't have all the ingredients yet to make this cake. We'll make the cake, but let's get.
We also, too, you know, want to be mindful of our constituents as far as spending money frivolously. We want to make sure that we do the best we can with what we have. Hopefully, we can do this process and make it the least impactful on that as well. So.
Gentlemen, I just have a quick question. Is the Wabagon Trail under your purview? Okay. I just wanted to mention that we just had a resident call and contacted me who is a biker and was really impressed on the upkeep of the Wabagon Trail in the county versus passing over into a neighboring county, and wanted to know what we were doing so well with our Wabagon Trail. So wanted to share that. And this might be a position that would also upkeep that trail for our bikers and pedestrians out there.
Lauren does.
Just so you know, Jackie, we were the first, this board was the first opportunity to put $1,000 of a $5,000 budget away for the upkeep of that Wobegon Trail. There was a commitment made by prior commissioners when that Wobegon Trail was that we would do a certain amount at taking care of the maintenance of it. That was not being done, and that was recognized by this board. And I actually went in front and I said, we're going to put a fund and dedicate that fund to the upkeep of the trail. We didn't have the money to do that, but at least we shined a light on the subject.
Well, it's definitely being noticed by the people that are using it, so they're very, very impressed with the upkeep.
Thank you.
How do you guys want to move forward? Get together in a small group, or, I mean, we've had several discussions with this.
Madam Chair, if I may, I think our, in just opinion, I think our best solution in this is to bring myself, Mr. Lauren Feldbaum, who's a part of our Public Works, or the Director of Public Works, Mr. Newman, because this is, Battle Point Park is in your, and maybe the board chair, if you like, or whoever else the board would appoint, and
who else is on the
Jackie.
park board?
I am.
As
Bob-
well, and
Bob
I
is
would say
on-
the auditor treasurer should be involved.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that I will say, we talked about the rent and the usage. Our point contact person at all times is our auditor treasurer for any type of, because, any type of use of any facility, because there's paperwork that is involved that probably should be involved with this park as well, as far as when there's usage going on. And that language and definition, we can have that defined by our auditor treasurer, what that should look like, what is, you know, and hopefully do like some type of pasting copy type of thing. So I think those are the key aspects. And then I think presenting it to the Parks and Trails after that is probably our best bet of going forward. Just getting that communication so that they know we're working on it, and we're looking into it.
Okay, my suggestion is use the park boards, because it'd be Randy and Bob
Okay.
are on the park board.
Okay.
We're commissioners.
Yep. And Madam Chair, we
Yeah.
probably should have the county attorney involved and make sure that we're covered, because John is the new county attorney, and just have him go through some of those.
We also have another challenge, and one of those challenges is maintaining membership on our board, all right? And with that being said, we have missed several meetings because we didn't have a quorum, all right? So we're gonna have to take a look at how we define a quorum, all right? That position could be, and now it's an individual from each one of your districts, okay? As you know, we've done everything we possibly can as a board to facilitate the right number of people on the board. So the challenge is to get people on the board so we have quorums, and then we can meet, and then as the organization gets defined, that we can do business the way we're supposed to, all right? So will that maybe we have to look at the organization of our board. And we maybe have to just get people, if we can't get people now, how do we fill those vacancies so we can have meetings, all right? And one thought that I had on that is that maybe there's an opportunity there to have several positions that if somebody isn't there, that they could take the place of that person so we could have a quorum. Or otherwise, we're ending up coming to a meeting, and sometimes we're coming to coming here, and sometimes we're coming to Battle Point, and then find out that, you know what, we really don't even have a quorum. We can't have a meeting, you know? So we should be having that conversation with our commissioners that are on our board, so they can come to the rest of the commissioners and say, this is one of the opportunities. And if you so choose to do that, that would give us a better opportunity to perform for the public. And you know, honestly, if there's people that are gonna be moving on, and we just had somebody that moved out of the territory, and it's a real challenge for us to maintain the membership. And we've had memberships that in the past, that we would be here for a little while, and you know, for whatever reason decided not to, or moved out of the area or whatever, and then all of a sudden we're looking for a void. And I know that commissioners have a whole lot of important business, and that may not be one of the most important businesses for you guys to get that done. But we have to make some request to the board and say, if this doesn't work, is this worth looking at? And I hope that it's an opportunity to think that through with some ideas on the commissioner's part, and we'll do our part.
Okay, I'd like to address that a little bit, because I'm one of the districts that I do not have a representative on your board right now since Gloria passed away.
Yep.
And it's very difficult. I've talked with Sullivan Shores, I've talked with Fond Lake Township. I just had a conversation with the Staples Township Board last week, and they're interested, would very much like to push a trail from Staples to Delaware Lake, to the Delaware Lake Pier. And that pier was in honor of Senator Della Sam, as a matter of fact. But it's to get that person to commit to be on this board. It's very difficult.
And I think that was leading to the thought of having an alternative there, that if they could make half the boards and half the more meetings and the other half somebody else would make, at least we could form a quorum.
Absolutely.
And maybe that would work with, you know, with the way you guys would want to arrange that. all right? But to designate it strictly that, you know, we're not gonna have a meeting for to have a quorum, you know, then, you know, how can we facilitate your
Absolutely.
organization that you're gonna put together, because you know what, we're not there.
And as a
we don't wanna
commissioner,
fail.
I would come down, but you can't have more than 2 commissioners. So that just blocks us out of being,
Yep.
participating in it.
And,
Yeah.
you know, you guys may come back with a better idea, but it's at least a thought.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Al, because it is a problem. And like I said, I realize it, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, Mitch, you will set up a meeting between the
Yes, Madam
core
Chair, I
group?
will.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
wanna-
you.
I want to thank Leslie and Al for
Yeah.
coming in today. This
Absolutely.
was a needed meeting, so thank you so much.
Well, I think we want to thank you as a board. First of all, I don't want to see this as a department at the county level. I want it to be a local level. And thank you, especially you, Randy, who's hanged in there for so long and helped us out. And I know everybody wants to do what's best for our residents of our county. I don't care so much about the people of Minneapolis. I care about us. And I think that's the reason why this board was created, because of the state park issue. And we decided that at that point, through different commissioners, that it was going to be a local level for local people. And I think Randy can attest to that. He could even fill you in on how that came about. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the next is Nancy.
Nancy.
Good morning.
Morning.
Nancy.
All right, so the ditch 40 maintenance project has been completed. And now so the deep section of ditch that was on that project, we weren't gonna grub the brush off of because we wanted the brush there to hold the banks, because it was very steep banks. If you wanna scroll down a little bit so you can see what the banks look like. So that's what it looked like before the excavation and while the large trees were still there. You can go on to the next picture. So the contractor cut the trees with chainsaws and left the root base of the trees to hold the bank, and we also left the brush there to hold the bank. We didn't want to grub the brush. So now we want to do a brush spraying project to spray the brush in this deep section, and then also to spray any brush on the rest of the system that was left, or stuff that's going to grow back in the next year. So talking to the contractor, I was thinking we could do this yet this year. I'm used to dry road right-of-way spraying of brushes, a brush where you can spray until November. He explained that after October 1st, aquatic chemicals don't work as well. So this probably will not be done this year. It probably won't be done until after June because the aquatic chemicals. So I'm just bringing this to the board. I talked to Commissioner Noska about this, and he said to bring it to a work session this week, and then at the next board meeting, if I bring it back to the next board meeting, be the decision then, since he wasn't here today. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jolene, if this gets done after June 30th of next year, it actually won't be assessed until 2027. Is that correct? Because it'll be into my next ditch year. My ditch year runs June 30th to July 1st of each year. So if the expense isn't done until after June 30th, it'll go into the next, which will then actually not be assessed until payable 2026, but assessed 2027, correct?
Assessment year 26 payable by the people in 2027.
Okay. It confuses me too, working with this stuff. So anyway, so this would not be done this year. So I may not bring this to the next board meeting because I have time now that I can bring it to another one after that. But so there was a estimate from Central Applicators for $2,499.16. That's probably on the high end. They usually give me an estimate that's higher, and then when the project is done, they only charge me for the time and the chemical. So it usually comes in less than what the estimate is. But this was the estimate. for that deep section, and then just to clean up any little bit of brush that's left on the regular ditch that was not the deep section. So that's all I had on that.
Okay.
Unless anybody has any questions.
You guys have any questions right now? It's good to get it completed, though.
I'm glad both of these are done.
Yeah.
Both of these projects are done.
Yep.
Okay, and then I might as well just stay sitting here because then next is our.
Yep. Maintenance.
Would you like me to start?
You might as well, yeah. I'll just chime in as you need stuff.
Sure. So annually, each year, the Auditor Treasurer's Office, along with the Ditch Inspector Nancy here, we get together to look at the activity that's happened in the county ditch funds for the assessment year period, in order to bring forward a proposed list of assessments for the upcoming tax payable year. So that list has been provided. Sometimes we are trying to heal expenses that the ditch funds did not have funding to support, and also trying to maintain balances in some of those ditch funds for those that have chronic beaver issues and what have you. So this is a overall listing here, and Nancy can talk more about the activities that are happening in each ditch, where the expenses are coming from. But this is a proposed listing after doing that analysis of the fundings and where they stand as of right now.
Yep. So ditch 4 is beaver. I'll just go through this list really quick. Ditch 4 is beaver, ditch 7, beaver, ditch 12, that was just to clean up old balance. Ditch 18, I'm bringing next year to propose to do another brush spraying project on ditch 18. So we're assessing a little bit ahead on that, even though they've got the full project maintenance going, or full project payment going now. 21 is beaver, 25 is not on there, but that was beaver. 32, beaver, these are all chronic beaver areas. 33 is beaver, 34, beaver. And I'll tell you the ones that aren't beaver. Everything else is beaver. So there's just the two projects of brush spraying, 40 and 18. 8, we're probably gonna spray, I'm gonna probably have sprayed for brush again too, but they've got enough in their fund balance that should cover that, so we don't need to assess ahead on that one. But the majority of this is just constant beaver issues.
And then on the bottom, the Auditor Treasurer's Office also provided an update regarding the County Ditch 18 funding for their large project that was approved back in 2017 with that loan, just to let you know the progress status on that. That as of the end of 2023, the amount that was owed back to the general fund yet from that $300,000 loan, the balance of that was at $132,486.38. And right now, with current assessment collections happening in the property tax payment cycle, the anticipated repayment for 2024 is estimated at just over $23,000. And that action will come before the board in December here, once we're able to final up that number.
And then I just want to mention ditch 42. I'm still learning. As long as I've been in this job, I'm still learning. In my board action form that we did to approve the project, I actually included balances of account of stuff that was already on the account. So since we included that in that wording, that actually has to go with the project. So there won't be an assessment on 42 this year. It will come the next
Payable
year.
26.
Payable 26.
Tax statements.
So next time I will leave that wording off of my board action, so we can collect ahead a little bit on some of it.
Any questions?
Excuse me.
So if all goes well, Madam Chair, we'd bring this listing forward, our Auditor Treasurer will bring it forward to the next board meeting for adoption.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Okay. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Next, we have the county fee schedule.
All right. Good morning, Madam Chair. This is another item that's organized by the Auditor Treasurer's Office as the central communication point, because this affects many county departments and A handful of them are present here today to speak to their portions of the fee schedule, but in the packet here for you and for your review is the proposed fee schedules received from all of the county departments. Anything from our regular general fund departments for general fees, anything from auditor treasurer's office to recorder to planning and zoning fees to our solid waste departments in here, public works, HHS, as an all-inclusive document. And we're scheduled to have public hearing on these proposed fees at the October 1st board meeting.
Okay. Have you noticed any increases from different departments or?
There has not been many changes. Forgive me, Adam, I believe you had a few points to note in yours. And then also, I do know, before Adam starts here, that solid waste is also proposing to increase their parcel commercial fees as well. Yes.
Okay, if you can scroll to the, what we have
To
there.
this page, yes.
Yep, so if you scroll down just a little bit to the bottom half, I think I had them outlined in red. Yeah, okay, so each of those areas in red are increases to whatever we had last year, like conditional uses and variances, rezoning are all $500. So $100 per application is a pretty significant increase compared to the smaller increments we've done over the years. But the reason for that is the discussion we had at Finance Committee about raising the per diems of our board members. So I don't know if we can include that as part of the conversation here, trying to absorb the cost of those board per diem increases into the application fees. If we're not going to increase those per diems, then I don't see a need to raise the cost of those applications, or at least not to that level. But that was the reason for such a substantial increase in a lot of those.
Adam, what are their per diems right now?
$50 a meeting,
Okay,
plus mileage and such.
right.
But the cost of each of those applications, we try to figure out how it, the cost of the meeting should be on the applicant, not on the tax base at large. So we try to figure out what that number is. When you have some meetings where you have one item, and we've had meetings with as much as 14 items, it's hard to zero in on what the exact cost is per meeting. So just punching numbers based on average mailing costs, board per diems, mileage, all this stuff, and you come up with a pretty close estimate on what that fee would be. And we can maybe not increase the per diem all the way as high as, what are some of the other boards, 125 or on the higher end? Maybe that needs to be a little bit lower. I don't know the last time the per diems were increased for our board members, but it was long before my time in Todd County. So that's the reason for those bigger increases there. And if those increases aren't necessary to match the per diems, then we can bring those back down.
Okay. Commissioners, questions? So this will come to board or
Madam
to
Chair,
a public hearing at a board meeting?
it will come to public hearing on October 1st to solicit the public's input on the fees, and then it's scheduled right now to come to the October 15th board meeting for potential adoption.
Okay, for approval. Okay. Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I haven't seen the rental of the pavilion at Battle Point on here. We have not added that on.
That has, Commissioner Newman, no, that has not been something that's been on the general fee schedule in my time.
Okay.
So that might be something you want to add on, Randy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we're going to have to take a look at this before it comes to public hearing, and the public will all have an input at that time also. And that's at the next meeting, October 1st meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, would it be helpful? Now, one of the things Adam's going to be talking about, and I think it's helpful, is he's going to talk about how many permits have been issued through planning and zoning and the types of them. Would it be helpful to know this for some of the other fees that the county charges, what a given year looks like? Or maybe that's, if it's not too much work, Jolene's smiling. Thanks, Jackie. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but.
You know,
I do have one question on the septic fees. So I just applied for a permit up in St. Louis County for a cabin, and they had a outdoor biffy, okay, permit.
Sure.
I see we don't have one, and I know we issue a ton of them to the Amish.
Yep.
Just curious.
Yep. So what is, if you scroll down, I think you'll see what our septic fee is there. So we have just a standard fee of $300 right now. We actually just increased that from last year into this year. We charge that across the board. And it really simplifies it. We get a design in, that's the fee. Other counties do what Commissioner Newman had described there, is if it's a holding tank, maybe it's a little less, because those do take less time for staff to review. If it's like an outhouse scenario, maybe we could set up a different fee. Other counties require maybe a smaller fee, but if you have to make multiple site visits to verify soils and maybe go back, they've changed the location, so we gotta go back and verify soils again. You make multiple trips, you pay per trip. We've never structured it that way. We actually discussed that leading into the fee schedule here and decided that for simplicity's sake and some of the feedback we're getting from contractors on the septic fee is that it was best to leave it as is now. Doesn't mean it has to stay that way. We could structure that differently. I'd be open to anything, but that's the reason it's always been that way.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because St. Louis County is one big-ass county, and I tell you, you're dealing with 2-3 different cities, so.
I think our contractors, you know, when you have fee increase, you're gonna hear about it, but I think for the most part, they appreciate the consistency of that fee. And they know that if they need staff to come back out and verify something and come back another time to do an inspection, that it's just, they've already paid for what they need to get accomplished. It simplifies it for everybody, but then the cost of each individual permit is not always the same ultimately.
okay. Change courses a little bit. I see David sitting here, so I'm going to pick on him. The 2025 environmental health fee schedule I see is out here also. Did that change at all? I mean, we have you in-house now, so how's that been going? I mean, as far as budget and okay.
It went from $150 to $200 for reinspection, and those administrative penalties also were.
Okay. Any other questions? It'll take some time for us to really review, and we've got till the next meeting to review on our own before we do the public hearing. So we will see this back on the October 1st meeting.
Yes.
So the next item would be the comprehensive plan, or is that permitting fee?
Yeah, the
data?
permitting fee, which I can, this is just informational more than anything. It lines
No,
up with
by all means.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the conversation
yeah.
about county fee schedules. And it's been a
Right.
while since I've come up and kind of given this update on, you know, permit activity and such. So on this first one you hear, you can see back to 2013 all the way through where we're at currently in 2024. Each of the individual types of permits that were issued. This is not an all-inclusive list of all types of permits, but it's all the types of permits that we could compare across all the years. So, which I have those notes on the second page, but for instance, we charge a fee now and for splitting or combining of parcels and such like that. We didn't do that before. And we didn't have the permitting software that we have now prior to 2017. So these are just things that, based on past data, we could just compare year to year. So it's just there informational. And if you scroll down to the next page, please, Julian, you can see how those types of permits correlate in fees received based on the fees. So again, just noting a few things at the bottom there, that everything was rounded to the nearest dollar. But the reason you don't see data for prior to 2016 is I just don't have that immediately available to myself without pestering the auditor treasurer's office. This was data that I could pull right out of our permitting system, which is also our receipt systems. And so yeah, the data was current to right now for 2024, or the 10th. We've added fees such as that split and combining or property line adjustment fee, and there were some other ones in there. We have a septic loan fee. I didn't include that in there because it's not, we don't have that comparison across years. So the fees that you see as the total received in each of those bottom lines are lower than what we actually received. So wanted just to give that as information. It lines up with this conversation about fee schedules and such, and I don't know if there's any questions or anything.
Questions? A lot of information.
It is, and yeah, if you have questions outside of this, I'm happy to talk more about it, but it just lined up with the conversation today, and again, it had been a while since I've presented stuff like this.
Well, thank you, Adam.
Yeah, and Savannah does have a meeting coming up, so if we can jump to calling her, so we don't miss out on her again today. Yeah, so that'd be. Yep.
This is Savannah.
Hey, Savannah, this is Adam.
Hi, Adam. How are
Hey,
you?
and it's actually, and the county board here too, so we got you live in the commissioner's room here.
Awesome. Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So at the previous work session, we discussed the Region 5's proposal for the rewrite of our county comprehensive plan, and the board here wanted the opportunity to just talk with you. Maybe they have some questions, but maybe to start here, and I know you have a meeting coming up here soon, so we'll try to keep it as brief as possible, but if you could just kind of give us a high-level overview of what Region 5 is going to be providing to the county in this agreement, and anything else that you think is important to share to start here.
Sure. So Region 5's main priority when working with cities and counties on their comprehensive planning is really helping you put together the planning team that's going to be driving all of the information that goes into the comprehensive plan. My biggest passion with comprehensive planning is that it's very public oriented. I do not want to come in and tell you how to run your city or tell you what to put in your comprehensive plan. And so that's really going to be where the community involvement comes into play. So we're big on getting the community involved in any planning process. So we put out community surveys to get information, and then that planning team that we put together, usually between 7 to 15 people, can be larger since we're talking county here, but usually that's the ideal number of people to get involved. They would take all the information that we get from the community and start putting together goals based off of what is talked about throughout the community as something that they want to see change or suggestions to be changed. And so we kind of do the facilitation. We do all of the marketing design and outreach for you. We'll take care of getting the final plan printed and really making it collaborative with everyone involved. We would probably have 2 full-time people working on this, so 2 of our staff members would be present at every single meeting, and the planning team would be comprised of like staff, public officials, community members, law enforcement. Anyone that wants to be a part of it is fantastic, and we typically want those people to be very consistent throughout those meetings. We have about 5 meetings that are fully comprehensive planning, and then 2 separate meetings that are specific to energy and environment. We always like to have a robust energy and environment or climate section within the comprehensive plan because it definitely allows the counties to kind of go out and get additional funding for projects that are needed. So we'll spend a little bit extra time on the energy and environment portion just to have that robust portion within the comprehensive plan. But we kind of do like asset mapping and dreaming in the first meeting. We'll do introduction to comp planning. We'll talk about timeline. We'll talk about what the survey looks like that gets sent out to the community members. And then we create a vision statement. So every meeting has a lot of moving parts to them to kind of keep everyone going. And we keep them very engaged, interactive, and collaborative. The thing that people don't like is coming to a meeting and being spoken to for an hour and a half and not being able to get up and do anything or speak. And so really our job is to just facilitate that conversation, get the ideas sparking, ask some questions to get people thinking about different ways to view things or maybe dive deeper into a specific topic. But that's kind of the gist of it. You know, after those 5 comprehensive planning meetings and 2 energy and environment planning meetings, we'll send out the draft for everybody to review for about 60 days. And then it goes back to you guys to approve it, and then you guys can officially adopt it and move on and start implementing the projects that the community members want to see happen.
Hi, Savannah. This is Commissioner Barb Becker. What's the timeline, you know, that you're thinking it would start and end?
Sure. So timeline is a little bit unique because in the proposal I had said that we could start this process in April. So the first meeting with the community members would be held in April. I am able to move this up to February if you want to start earlier. But if we start in February, I would have to have the meetings be during the daytime. Just with all of the other comprehensive plans that I have going on, my evenings are full up until April. So we can start as early as February with the kickoff, or we can do April if you want to do evening meetings.
Okay. And approximately how long does it last?
The meetings are held every other month. And so the comprehensive planning meetings are every other month. And then in between that, two of the off comprehensive planning meetings would be the energy and environment planning meetings. So it lasts roughly 11 to 12 months in total, but that includes the 60-day adoption process. So if we looked at the projected timeline in the proposal, the first meeting would be in April, and the adoption process would be January through February, with the implementation of the comprehensive plan being in March. So we would be looking at a conclusion of March of 2025 if we start in April. If we started in February, it would move up several months from there.
Okay, thank you.
So not too bad, yeah.
Commissioner, other questions?
Need to get her done.
Yeah, it's something that we need to have done. It's been several years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good process to have because, you know, as times change, you know, obviously we're in a new environment of the world right now, and so there's different things that we want to make sure we have within our comprehensive plan so that we keep moving the communities forward and doing what's best for the community at the time. And so it's always great to update it because it kind of is your pivotal point for doing any sort of planning within the communities. And the cities can also look at the county comp plan and see what the county wants to see happen and put their voices heard in that too. So it's a good project to do.
And as a commissioner, I have to ask the question, what's the cost? What's the dollar amount?
Yeah, and that the estimated costs are in the proposal. I'm not sure if you have had a chance to review it. So I have it broken down into sections, but the total cost comes to $19,250. We do have 2 full-time staff in there, and that is where most of the cost comes from, along with mileage. And then we have a budget in there to do outreach to the community, document creation, printing costs. And then Region 5, we always like to make sure that we have some sort of meal or nutrition available at the meetings. And so we did put a budget in there for that. You can always take that out if you want to provide that on your own, and have like a city or a county official bring that to every meeting. Otherwise, Region 5 will take care of bringing waters and snacks to every single meeting that we have for people.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
You're welcome.
Jackie, any questions?
Just kind of as a follow-up to the cost, our hope, Adam and I, is to apply for a consultant grant through Sourcewell. It's a non-competitive, and that's in the amount of $20,000 to cover this.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
So my update on that is I've submitted that. I just need to secure the funding through Sourcewell, and this will, I believe, cross through different fiscal years for Sourcewell, so we may have to split it between years, which unfortunately ties up an opportunity for a different department to use that fund in the next fiscal year. But in the end, we can hopefully get the whole thing paid for by Sourcewell.
Okay.
And that's what the goal will be. Yep. So I don't have an
Yeah, that's
update on that
great.
other than I've submitted the application.
Okay, and you will be bringing more forward as we move on?
As we have more updates. Yep.
Very good. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Savannah.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Was there anything else on that before we call
I
Mark
don't
on
think
this?
so. I
Okay.
think you'll bring the updates
Yeah.
as we
Yep.
get them
So as I
between you and Jackie.
Yeah, if we secure the funding through Sourcewell, we can come to work session, give that brief update, and then look to get this on a regular agenda to actually make the formal action to
Right.
commit to it. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
and I think we're ready to call Mark next then.
Okay. The next is methane digester.
Mark Hill.
Hey, Mark, you got Adam here.
Hi.
Hey, but you're live in the commissioner's room here with the whole board, well, all but except Commissioner Naska. So we're going to continue our discussion about your digester application here. I just have a brief update, and then I think the board may have some questions for you also, Mark.
Okay.
Okay, so the update to start here at the previous planning commission meeting, I know Commissioner Denny and Becker were there. I don't know if you other guys had watched it online, but the planning commission did make the recommendation to approve the CUP with 9 conditions. I can review those if you would like to. The reason they moved that forward is because we will not have another planning commission meeting prior to when the deadline is for MPCA to get a response to us related to the EAW. So the update on that right now is that we haven't got that from MPCA, but the response will need to come to us on or before September 26th. So that would be before the next commissioners meeting of October 1st, maybe? Third? Okay. Whenever that first one is in October. So they wanted to give the opportunity here for the board to consider what they had in front of you. They felt like they had everything in order to make that recommendation pending a response from MPCA. Now, if MPCA comes back and says the EAW is going to be required, it's going to happen, well, then we're stuck anyway. We can't move forward. If they come back and say it's not going to be required, then we have 60 days from that time to make a decision, and this would give us the most amount of time in order to make a decision. So that's the brief update. So go ahead, Mark.
No, I'm just understood, and I had the same kind of correspondence with MTCA that they'd have a decision no later than the 26th.
So that's my brief update, and then I'll turn over to the board if there's questions or comments.
Okay. You, go ahead.
Hi, Mark, this is Commissioner Byers. We've had some email discussions about a virtual tour possibly. And I know we missed each other, and I couldn't get to Iowa last Friday, but we had an AMC convention in Alexandria that needed attention. So just would like to get that virtual tour back, or at least get it on the schedule as soon as possible.
Yeah, and so we can do it 2 different ways. We can have myself or one of our employees essentially live feed for one of our projects, walk you through the whole process. It'd be a project very similar to the one that we've been putting in Todd County. Or we can do a recorded tour through the facility that you can look at your leisure.
I guess I don't have a preference, whatever is quickest and most informative that we.
Yeah. So what we can do, I think, would be just from a scheduling perspective, because otherwise we'd probably have to get everybody on board at the same time. And I know it can be difficult. We can do a recorded tour no later than end of next week. That can be sent out. That you could, if you have any questions for us, I'm happy to answer those questions.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and proceed with that then?
Okay, great.
Yeah. I would just love to see it and see how it works, you know.
I have another question. Is there a similar facility in Paynesville or Melrose? Anybody knows about? Adam or?
I'm not familiar with one. Guess an idea? Okay.
Well,
yeah.
I could have swore Bertram from Stearns County told me they had digesters, and maybe it's a different type of digester too.
Yeah. I prefer to do one on ours because there are different types of digesters out there, and like I can't speak on behalf of other folks' stuff.
So I had a conversation with Stevens County at breakfast the other morning at AMC, and they're talking about the possibility. They're having some concerns right now about not putting it in a pipeline, but putting it in semis, and there's a big concern about putting it in semis because it's going to be under such high pressure compared to the biodigester. They're not worried about the biodigester. They're worried about transporting that gas in semis.
In semis. And then this one is
We're not transporting
proposed,
any gas, though,
right?
right?
This is direct injection into a
Pipe right
pipeline
in.
right in the area.
It was an interesting conversation.
Yeah. And that's the same thing I've heard too, is it's the connecting point between, the pipeline actually coming from the farm and into wherever it's being sold. And I don't know, has that been decided yet or not? The planning and zoning meeting, I don't think you guys had a buyer yet or a.
So in all likelihood, what I told the planning and zoning committee is we're going to be injecting into the center point line that goes into Long Prairie. They're going to run a line out to us. I can't say that for 100% sure. Centerpoint's a big company. We're currently working with them first to get a letter of intent signed and then a contract signed in order to interconnect. But they did complete a feasibility study. It was feasible for us to inject there. So that is our preference to do that. We don't truck gas at any of our projects. It's doable. I don't want to dismiss it, but it's very expensive to do. It does create more traffic and things like that. So we prefer direct injection.
Do you know, Adam or Mark, that center point, that's the one over by, on the road going past, by Hillig's, the trailer place there? Is that where that hookup is?
Yeah, we would end up connecting into what's called their city gate. And so where they're taking gas off the main line to feed Long Prairie. And so it would actually, believe, go a little bit to the west of Long Prairie. But as a utility, they plan this stuff out. They do this all the time.
Any other questions?
Okay,
So it's
so
just a matter of waiting for the permit to come through, and I think that will probably be one of the questions, is the connecting leg of this yet.
Yep, so it's kind of wait and see right now. Once I get that notification from MPCA, I'll just give that update to the board, and then we can talk about what the next steps are to probably put it on a regular agenda, so whether that, if you're ready to make a decision, you have that opportunity, or if it needs to go back to the planning commission for any reason or whatever, it gives us that opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's wait and see right now, though.
And I look forward for that tour coming up too.
Yep,
So I'll communicate with Mark on that and then make sure that everybody gets a chance to view it.
Just wait, Commissioner Newman?
I got one question. Did they amend the conditional use permit to Dairy Ridge to include the digester and assume any conflicts or risks?
Right, so if I understood your question was this going to be an amendment or a new CUP to the property, right? And so I reached out to Jason on that topic, and his response was that it is an amendment to the existing CUP of Dairy Ridge. But that doesn't have any impact on the old CUP. The conditions and the things you consider in the decision are related specifically to the request at hand. And now the liability portion of it is really, it's on Dairy Ridge's property, but they have working agreements with Mark and his company. But ultimately, you know, the CUP is recorded to property that Dairy Ridge owns.
I do have one more question. I don't remember if I heard this from the last presentation or if it was just wherever, but what was the anticipated amount of traffic from Hollerman? Was it a truck every other day or something like that, or does anybody know that?
I think we're looking at about 2 or 3 trucks a day.
2 or 3 trucks.
The satellite farms, yeah.
That's
But
come.
There's I was gonna say there's some offset in that during the spring and fall when there's the heavy truck traffic as they're emptying lagoons, there's going to be less manure because the digester digests some of the manure, and they'll be able to pump the manure easier. So they can move this out to fields via pipe versus having to truck it out to fields.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, this is Coordinator Bauer, and I just have a quick question. Do you know if the energy companies, and this might be a dumb question, but when you're able to create, you know, that form of energy, do they give any credits, or I don't know if there's any offset that they give to the county because we have a company like this creating this product? Do you know if there's any credits given for that?
Yes. They claim the credits themselves as part of why this is valuable. We you know, to be frank, we couldn't do this without the environmental credits associated with it. And so CenterPoint, for example, there's a Minnesota Natural Gas Innovation Act that requires over time that CenterPoint lower the carbon intensity of its natural gas. And so they'll essentially grade this gas and measure its carbon intensity, which is negative, and then they'll take that credit against their mandates that they have from the state. But in kind of just general terms, though, the carbon emissions, greenhouse gas emissions from the dairies involved will go down. You know, just there's less gas going into the atmosphere. Only our end user can claim that, but in terms of kind of having a green hub and a green agricultural center here in Todd County, it's certainly on the public relations side a good thing.
Thank you.
Mark, what was the dollar amount on the project again, roughly?
Yeah, it's going to be north of $15 million.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, well, we'll kind of wait and see where things come back, if it's, will be, and on what meeting it'll be brought back to the commissioners.
Yep, and I'll keep everybody posted if we get some news, and then also when Mark gets that virtual tour ready,
Yes.
we'll get that distributed to everybody also.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
All right, thanks much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, next on would be September construction update, Todd County Transfer Station. I don't see anybody here. So let's go.
there?
Yeah.
Will you give an update?
The update was, like I said, they're pouring concrete and Mike thought they weren't very far away from hooking up the gas lines, within a couple weeks again, back to the main building. Yeah, just trying to get back on track from that whole rebar setback deal, and other than that, it's
No real hiccups coming then?
nothing that he's seen. Everything looks pretty smooth so far, so.
Good.
The baler working good in the old building, they're loving that. Other than that, it was, yeah, nothing major yet to report on until they start doing some more building, but.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
With that, we'll go into number 9, environmental health. Proposed ordinance update and changes. Good morning.
Morning.
All right, in front of you is the proposed changes to the Todd County Unified Environmental Health Ordinance. It was last revised in 2019. We had a number of revisions with our last program evaluation by MDH that were required. We also took the opportunity with the addition of David as our sanitarian to look through all of our policies, procedures, ordinance, and make sure they were updated. So there's a number of updates throughout the ordinance. They're highlighted, so you can see those. We also had John review the ordinance, and he provided some good feedback on our Enforcement and Appeals Board hearing. So if we wanted to scroll through it quickly, I'd be happy to just show you the quick changes we've made. And then, of course, after this, we would be going through that ordinance process of doing a public notice, public hearings, all those, to ensure that we get this implemented. Our goal is 2025. So as you know, the drinking water program, we gave that delegation back to the state, so we removed that language. You can keep scrolling. Also more water delegation language we removed. That item around private school food services was something that MDH no longer requires, so we removed that as well. We had the term variance and waivers throughout. I don't know why. So we removed and waivers everywhere. So it's just a variance. That's the language that MDH uses. That's the language we use. It's just a variance you provide. So we just took out the waiver language because that was confusing. Keep going. Thank you, Jolene. One of the main changes we made is around seasonal establishments. So in the past, we used to have seasonal establishments apply for their license 2 weeks before they opened. Every other establishment was licensed January 1, right, if they were a renewal. The issue we saw was that seasonal establishments, as you know, are resorts, campgrounds, open up on lots of different days, and we never really knew when they were going to open. Sometimes it's based on weather, sometimes it's based on when those owners come back from wherever they're living, and we were chasing them, you know, to get the applications in time. So we are now proposing changing that to every establishment is January 1. Of course, if a brand new establishment opens throughout the year, they would be licensed based on that, but our renewal, this is the same for our vacation home rental. We set that as well, regardless if they're only open for the summer or not. It's January 1 for everyone.
But actually, it's due December 10th.
Correct.
That, you know,
So, yep, you'll
if
see
you're
that.
telling them January 1, it's actually, they owe
They
it
are
to the county.
licensed for January 1 through December 31st.
Right.
Renewals go out in November. They need to get those to us by December 10th
Yeah.
to be then licensed for 2025 or the following calendar year. So correct, Barb. If it's a renewal, of course, we need time to process that. But yes, their license would be active for the calendar year. So that is one of the major changes we made.
And you have a real hefty late fee if they're late. I said, and you have a very hefty late fee if they're late.
We also had to chase a number of establishments, I think almost 21 here, that did not get their license in on time, and they're operating without a license is a misdemeanor every day, as John knows. So that is something, again, we had to really push and enforce because the problem is establishments, I think, just get used to, oh, we're licensed, we're active. Sometimes there's a change in ownership, but we need to make sure that people are aware that it's important that they're licensed on time, and we need that time as well. So it seems that that late fee has been a very good enforcement effort that we don't always have to use.
Yes, and just to add to that, last year we were still chasing some of our seasonal establishments in September for payment, which means they were operating technically without a license. I mean, there was no reason we wouldn't have provided that license other than we didn't have the documentation, so.
All right, what else? This is another thing we'd like to remove. We used to do, if a new business opened in the second half of the year, they only had to pay half of the license fee. The challenge we have, and David knows this, and we understand the cost, so we're still doing a pre-inspection. We're still talking to them. We're still dealing with all the issues that you deal with every establishment that's new to opening. It doesn't seem to matter if they open in the second half of the year or not, right? So we'd like to remove that and just have the license fee be what the license fee is. We also had some establishments who would wait till July 1 to open. And we just think it's something where every establishment, we're doing the same process, right? So regardless if they open in the first half or the second half of the year, our fees, we feel, are still pretty modest to where we feel it's important that David's time is taking up, going out there, helping them make sure that they can be licensed and making sure that they have everything they need to be licensed. So that happens regardless of when they open.
Yes, and just to add to that, we feel it's very important because some of our fees are so low when we take like short-term rentals, for example, they're $200. And then there's an additional small fee per bedroom. But like yesterday, I crossed the county for one that we collect $110 for. All the work went into it, the drive, my time, especially for those, it doesn't even cover our expenses to license them, so.
Okay, keep going. In the past year, we've had, you can stop there, thank you, an opportunity to utilize this ordinance more heavily than we have in the past. So we wanted to make a clarification that when we revoke a license, we're revoking the license holder's license. That is a stipulation where we're not revoking the establishment's license. We are revoking, not the restaurant, the license holder's license, if that is a clarification, and we can talk offline if there's more questions about that specifically, because we felt that was important to include that language, because it was something that we had a hard time clarifying in our ordinance. Along with that is our section 11, which I specifically asked John to review. We made a few changes to that as well, as we were able to utilize our appeals board this year. So we just wanted to make a couple little changes so that it was a little more specific as to how we would run that process or that appeals board if needed. Keep going, Jolene, thank you. You guys, of course, can read through this and provide comments when we come back. Again, some state language was updated. You'll see those highlights. Those aren't anything major. Keep going, please. Again, state language was updated for state statutes. And then the last section 14, John provided. So it was sort of a combination of our civil and criminal penalties and violations, basically what our county attorney is able to do based on this ordinance. So thank you for that, John. And that's it. Questions?
Okay. I guess that's what I was going to ask, if John had a chance to look at this. And so this will be coming
back for two hearings.
For a hearing October 1st?
Yep, we'll get it posted in the papers in time and then have it come back for the October board meetings for a first and second hearing.
Okay. Any questions?
I just have one comment. It's always difficult to strike a balance between, permitting and fees and who pays what, when they pay and all those things. But one of the things you said that is important, I feel important, is but it doesn't cover our expenses. You mentioned that. I mean, we have to be covering our expenses on these things. Otherwise, we're going to be upside down, and that's not of any interest to myself or my constituents. So that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? We will see you October 1st then.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
We've had it where everybody is kind of sat up here.
Yeah.
You're right, so I wasn't sure how we were doing that. Good morning,
We'll add more
everyone.
chairs, more mics.
I
We
think we'll
can.
be good, and
We'll
then
be
we'll
good.
bring
Pull
up
one out,
John's
Hillary.
group after that. So.
Okay.
Jake wasn't able to be here today, so
Yeah, he's
something
our
came up and.
other adult services supervisor, so I'll just go through his slides. But
Okay.
we just wanted to take a second to thank you guys for your supporting our needs of our unit by adding staff. And just our overall support of adding programs and things like that. So we do appreciate that. We also want to thank our staff too for their hard work and dedication to the people of Todd County, because they are really busy and you won't find a more dedicated group doing good work. So our first slide, Jolene, if you want to slide. Thank you. These are our newer programs. You guys have heard us talk about our comprehensive reentry, which is our jail program, and then our TIDA. Lisa Grossinger is our Cree social worker. I will say too with these programs before I start, it's been exciting to see the progress that these two have made with these programs. So Lisa meets with all of the inmates, works out what their mental health needs or if they're having any mental health needs while in jail, but also the release planning. We have 2 peer support workers coming in weekly to see the inmates, and then she has implemented a therapy dog to come in weekly. The inmates have really enjoyed having that, and then she will soon be facilitating the Parenting Inside Out parenting classes. That's through that MDH Expanding Jail Practices grant. We are also in the process of getting all the stuff for that, the furniture for the court holding room. It's really exciting to see all of this come together. And then Ashley is our TIDA social worker. She's located in the sheriff's office while Lisa's in the jail portion. She has been doing the mental health co-response and the diversion. The co-response, as we've talked in previous sessions, has really taken off. She saw 172, or has been on 172 calls this year alone, while holding a TIDA diversion caseload of 10 and adult mental health cases as well. So we're excited. And again, thank you for the approval of hiring another position so we can focus more on that diversion piece that's kind of been missing. I hope I can speak for John too, that we are excited to see what this program can also develop into by having this social worker.
And that co-response is really giving a social worker, the deputies a social worker to call when it is related to some mental health things that they might need some assistance on, so.
Yes, and the whole goal of these programs is to like kind of divert from that law enforcement contact or that jail contact or even contact with the county attorney's office. So it's been a really good program. And then in our adult mental health area, we have 2 full-time case managers and 2 that have hybrid caseloads and a case aide. We have 134 cases, 4 Minnesota sex offender program cases from St. Peter, and then 2 mentally ill and dangerous clients. And then our money management, budgeting, rep payee, we serve over 40 clients.
And that program, might I add, is not a mandated service that we're required to have, but it is really more an opportunity to offer clients help with managing their money to keep them in their home. So it's that upstream approach that we always talk about because we've seen, and they're in the program because they haven't managed their money well to pay their bills. So that really does help us to keep them in their homes and not needing services on the other end.
Absolutely. And then our Todd County Local Advisory Council, we meet every month. We have a really good, robust attendance with our providers. One of the goals, starting at the state level with our LACs, brought down to our region, and then our local level, is to update the bylaws of our LACs. They have not been updated since 1989 when they first started, so it's been interesting to read through them. Thank you to John for reading through them after we updated them, but that will come to board at a later time because we do need board approval for those. Another thing is to have goals for your LAC to move it forward, and part of that is to be more present in the community. So you will see probably posters hanging up. We are going to update websites. We would like to have more consumers of mental health services, people with lived experience, parents of children with lived experiences to attend as well, because their input is so valuable in what truly our needs are here at Todd County. So more updates to come on that part. Adult protection, that area is one that has really increased. We are really busy in that area. We've had, in 2023 alone, we had 202 MARC reports. MARC is our Minnesota Adult Abuse Reporting Center. That's where all of the reports throughout the state are funneled through. We had 62 emergency protection reports, and those reports have to be looked at and dealt with, for lack of better words, within 24 hours. So that's day and night, weekends. We accepted 92. That means that they rose to the level of an adult protection need. We have one full staff working on that team, along with 3 others when he is crazy busy with cases. And then substance use disorder services, we had 133 cases in 2023. Back in July of 22, that's when comprehensive assessments replaced the Rule 25 assessments. That's when LADCs at any facility can provide those assessments, and so people have a choice of where they want to get that assessment. We currently have one LADC here at Todd County, which has really been great. Not all counties have an LADC, so we're very lucky to have her here. She also does a lot of our assessments in the jail, so that is helpful as well.
I'm Hillary. I'm the Adult Services Supervisor, so I manage the waiver programs and the managed care programs, which is our health plans. Currently, we have 1 paraprofessional case aide, and then we have 12 care coordinators, which is a mix of nurses and social workers. Here's just a time frame of when we did new assessments in 2022 and then in 2023. As you can see, there's a great influx of new assessments that we had requested in 2023, and we believe that's probably because of COVID restrictions probably lessening, and more people are amped to wanting people coming into the home and, you know, wanting more services in the home. So, and then just for information on our county of location reassessments from 2022 to 2023, and those numbers stay fairly the same year after year. And those assessments are those that the clients are sitting here in Todd County, but other counties are responsible for those individuals, yet we have to do those assessments, so. And then here's just an overview of what we have for cases in each program that we offer. These numbers do fluctuate year from year, and these numbers are down a little bit from last year. And we feel that's probably because of COVID restrictions being lifted and MA renewal applications being processed again. So we have quite a few individuals that are losing eligibility for MA, which then makes them ineligible for programs on my side. And then we have been up and running in our revised MinChoice program since about January of this year. And that's our new application. Our old application will be obsolete end of this month, so we won't have access to any of that information. And all of that information should be moved over to our revised MinChoice application. So these assessments they're very time consuming. I would say an initial assessment at this point is anywhere between 8 to 10 hours for one assessment. And some of those cases we can hang on to for 4 months before they're shipped off to a case manager just because of eligibility reasons. So this new system is taking quite a bit of time. A lot of kinks that DHS is still working out, but it seems to be getting a little bit better. So we're happy about that. And then this is a new program that will be implemented October 1st. It's Community First Services and Supports. CFSS is a Minnesota healthcare program that offers flexible options to meet the unique needs of people. CFSS allows people greater independence in their home and communities. And this is replacing our PCA services, personal care assistance, and our consumer support grant, which is something we don't offer here in Todd County. So this program is basically being implemented by DHS to allow clients and families more leeway in how they want their services to be driven. So it's gonna allow like a paid spouse to be paid as a caregiver, or a parent to be paid as for their minor children, which is something they can't access right now. So more to come with this. We're still learning a lot about this program and how it's gonna work. I'm sure there will be kinks, just as every program has, to get worked out. But we're excited to have this program up and running and to have some better access for our clients and families, so.
So this program allows families to be more of the decision makers and what they want to do.
Absolutely.
So if my dad, for example, my father had to have some services, but my mother wanted to be the one to be more the caregiver.
Yep. You'd still have to have that initial the min-choice assessment to determine.
Which is painful, but.
Yes,
Work through
those assessments can take sometimes 2 to 3 hours initially. The nice thing DHS recently allowed us to do is we're incorporating our intake time now too towards these assessments, which they didn't allow us before, which I'm hoping to recoup more dollars that way as well. So, because that's a process in itself, just the intake, so.
Do you have a sneaking suspicion what the net impact of this is gonna be for our staff? Like, more involvement, less involvement? I could certainly see it go both ways.
So.
People are very independent, some are like,
So.
give me whatever I can.
Right, this program is kind of on a rolling basis, so for the clients we currently have, they can't roll into this program till their actual reassessment comes due, otherwise we have a high influx of people requesting to have these reassessments completed. So we're hoping we can spread them out through the next year of when people come due for reassessments, but this will take an effect for any like initial requests we get from the community, so.
And they'll be working with a consultation service to develop their plan, because along with that, they can get a PERS or like a Lifeline unit and some other services. So it really will be a benefit to people accessing those services.
Just curious, is this a statewide program?
Yep.
Okay.
And it's an MA state plan. Oh, I'm
When
sorry.
you say benefit, what does that mean to the person?
It gives them greater independence to choose who provides the service for them. Along with many of our services, staff are at an all-time low, so they're not able to even access the service at times. So it allows those family members to take care of them.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
coming in.
I just
Great
have
job.
one comment. Kim,
Sure.
be sitting on the corrections board, Todd Wadena Corrections Board, a lot of positive comments about the social workers in the jail settings.
Great.
So just to pass that on.
Thank you.
Thank you, we will.
Has truly been a benefit.
Yes.
That, again, it's talk about prevention. What can we do to get them out of that situation, but set them up for success? And I think this is an opportunity to really, truly be able to do that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Jennifer.
Good work, guys. Thank you.
Was there any interest in that old bylaw from '89?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Might
Good
want to turn
morning.
on your microphone over there, Derek and Breezy.
Good morning.
Okay.
Yes, we planned. I wrote it all for myself. So I just want to say good morning. Thank you for giving us the space to come and present to you today. Just because I know my communication style kind of gets a little wonky sometimes, I did write my statement up, so if you have a question, you will have to get my attention or somebody else's to stop me. Otherwise, I'm just going to read it verbatim. All right. So today we're going to look at what we did in 2023, what we're currently doing in 2024, and what we plan to do in the future, and some of the struggles that we are facing within our department. Next slide, please. So before I discuss the numbers that describe what we did, let me tell you who did the work. The Child Services Department is made up of one manager, myself, 2 supervisors who are next to me, 14 social workers, 1 relative search specialist, and 1 case aide. All of these people are dedicated to providing quality and meaningful service to the families they work with and dedicated to improving and expanding the services within our county. As a county, we entered and screened 587 reports of abuse and neglect. While some of these reports were repeated, there we go, repeated, a majority of them are not. The number of reports received and screened by the county continues to increase, with 2023 seeing an increase in 109 reports. Of the 587 reports that we screened, 190 of these cases were screened in for some sort of child protection response. To put that number into context, our department has 2 full-time staff dedicated to completing the task. If things are equal, that equates to 95 assessments per worker, or almost 2 cases per week per average. Each case has its own specific challenges and requirements, none of which are easy and come along with a very specific timeline. Of these 190 cases that were screened and assessed, and an assessment was completed, 34 children entered out-of-home placement. Traditionally, I would use the term foster care, but I'm not sure the term paints a true picture of what foster care means. Foster care implies a child is placed into a foster home, which is not often the case. As I will discuss later, the acuity of needs we are seeing has led to an increase in placements in residential and treatment facilities. Once a child is placed into foster care, the goal of a case is to achieve permanency for that child within 1 year of placement. The goal is always to return the child to the home. A majority of the time that is the case, but not always. In 2023, we had 28 children that were discharged from foster care. Of those 28 kids, 22 returned to a home they were removed from, 3 children were adopted, and 3 children had their parental rights transferred to a relative. Prior to a child establishing permanency, adoption, returning home, whatever that looks like, it is a caseworker's job to coordinate the services needed to address the issues that led to out-of-home placement, determine when the child can be safely, if ever, returned to the home, while also engaging parents and families that do not want the service, are often making changes that are not easy and may have been lifelong habits, all in a short timeline. Within the Children's Mental Health Unit, we have been fortunate to have a board that agrees there is a need for continued growth within the department and the county. We have been fortunate to add 2 case managers to this unit. Despite the addition in staff, we continue to see workers working at capacity per state requirements. This is not unique to a unique condition to the county, as our county partners continue to add staff and work at capacity as well. We received referrals to provide services to 52 new children within the county and served a total of 137 kids in 2023. Each case carries its own unique challenges, acuity of need, lack of resources, parent and child engagement, etc., its own set of paperwork, goal setting and monitoring, and overall coordination of services. Out-of-home placement is also a component within children's mental health. Within the state, there's a lack of beds and resources to meet the needs of our children, leading to an increase in wait times, lengthens the stay once admitted, and places burden on other departments when cases cross over to the child protection realm. Later on, I'll touch on some of the things we are working on to increase service providers, prevention on out-of-home placement, and increasing in-home services for families. Excuse me. Next slide, please. As a department, we have been lucky to host community events that help families to make connections with providers within our community, while also providing resources on issues that they may be facing at home. In April, we hosted a community connection event here in Long Prairie. We provided the community a meal, had representatives from providers within the county, and provided activities for the children who attended the event. At this event, we provided a free speaker that's presented on online safety, providing resources to parents and their caregivers to ensure their young people in their lives are safe in all aspects of social media. At this event, we served close to 150 people. Last month, we hosted a free drive-in in Long Prairie. Again, we provided activities for the families that attended, had representatives from around the county, and provided a free movie for the families of the community. Despite the struggles we had with weather causing 2 separate reschedules, we saw almost 100 cars, not people, attend this free event. As the summer wind down, we gather supplies and backpacks to provide students on our caseloads, families that other departments serve, and generally the families we serve. This year, the county was fortunate enough to be able to provide backpacks and supplies for 137 students in the Todd County schools. As an agency, we have been involved in the increase of services for our community. Region 5 has started a Children's Mental Health Initiative, which has an initial goal of identifying the needed services within our region and planning on the ways to increase these services. This is in the initial stages, and the initiative is currently reviewing poll results from our families and providers to develop an action plan. As a county, we have partnered with Greater Minnesota Family Services to provide Community Intensive Bridging Services, also known as CIBS. This service provides at least weekly meetings with children and their parents, active goal setting and treatment planning to prevent out-of-home placement. The placements that this service is helping to prevent are often long-term, costly, and burdensome to the families. I would like to personally thank the board for the service, as there was specific commitment that was made to the community and our partners to fund the service. As a department, we have been fortunate to add to our staffing, as I have said. We added 2 case managers within Children's Mental Health Unit and 1 case aide to the department. All of these additions have lessened the burden on existing staff within the department, and for this, I believe the entire department would say thank you. Lastly, we have implemented a process of case review called Todd County Juvenile Screening Team. There are many reasons a family may be presented to this team, all with the hope of coordinating outcomes that support the youth in the best way possible. Next one. Now that we talked about what we have done, let's talk about where we're working on and where we're going forward. In previous work session, myself and Mr. Eberle have come before the board to update the region's progress in establishing a family resource center. I am happy to report that a provider who is familiar with community assessments and further planning has come forward and is in the process of starting their work within the counties. Our department has been working on community engagement for years and have often done things on our own or with limited support. We are looking to expand our presence through a partnership with Todd County Collaborative. The collaborative has representation from many different agencies within the county, from mental health to medical to schools. By establishing a partnership through this collaborative, there will be greater engagement and service provided to the population of Todd County. We are in the process of engaging with schools in the community to help address issues of truancies in different ways. This process, called the School Squad, will look at barriers to school attendance, will work with families to address these barriers, and can look at alternative court involvement for issues that are not resolving themselves. We are looking to start this process with 1 district this school year and will expand to other schools in the county in other school years. I have touched on the increase in staffing we have experienced in the program improvements that we have made. Myself and the rest of my department are committed to continued improvement of our department, and they help to serve the children and families that we come in contact with. Next slide, please. As is the case in any line of work, there are struggles that our department does encounter, many of which are known and are being worked on through some resource that we've already discussed. These first 2 areas go hand in hand. In both children's mental health and child protection, we are working with families who are facing higher acuity of needs, both with themselves and their children. Some of the behaviors that are being displayed make it hard to find an appropriate service that is available, hard to find placement that fits the needs of the family, and often difficult to get the services as they are oftentimes out of county. With the lack of resources available to families, issues are being left unaddressed for longer periods of time, leading to increased need for services and out-of-home placement. When there becomes a need for out-of-home placement, these placements are often lengthy, very costly, and very hard to budget for. Long story short, there is a great need for services that can serve high acuity cases in our community in a timely manner to lessen the chances of out-of-home placement and/or abuse and neglect to the child. As some of you may recall, myself and Mr. Eberle were present at the board talking about the family resource centers. At this meeting, there was a discussion with Mr. Lindeman about the increased caseload size for the attorneys in his office and some of the possible solutions to the problem. Children's Services is in the same position. As stated in my reflection from 2023, all numbers in all areas are increasing. We have staff that are working at or near capacity for their position, while also working with cases that have a higher acuity than they have had in the past. I'm appreciative of the board's willingness to expand the department as the need arises, and there continues to be work that can be done. Just to put in context, a request was made to the board to add an additional children's mental health case manager on December 7, 2023. This position was eventually board approved to be filled on August 6, 2024. December 7, 2023 to August 6, just to put us in context. During that time, we had 20 applicants that applied for the position, half of whom failed to meet the requirements. We as a county offer wonderful benefits, and I would encourage this board to have the same sentiment toward the wages we are offering as well. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate your attention. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners.
Yeah, I got a question. What's driving things up? Why is child protection exploding or expanding?
A lot of it ties back to COVID, as many people will point to, but it's been likened to other major catastrophes in the history of time, that the kids that went through COVID and experienced time at home, time away, time segregated basically from their community has led to an increase in their mental health concerns, which leads to an increase in their parents' mental health concerns. It's just a cyclical cycle, right? If it continues to be an issue, it crosses over into all boundaries. That's the main reason that it's bumping up.
I grew up in a different generation.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, but
Really?
the whole family dynamics is quite a bit different today than, my mom didn't work, but she worked part-time, and there was someone always at home, and grandma and grandpa were a quarter mile away, and people are, it was just different. I mean, you had your church,
That's true. My grandpa.
I made the story. I made the statement the other day to my wife and my daughter. I said, even like school. I mean, school to me, like I get the morning. I think I mentioned this last meeting. And they have breakfast for half an hour before school starts. You have classes which seem to me have become more less educational, more watching over them. I don't know. It's different, and I can't relate to it as well as maybe others can, but it's in front of us.
Even when you talk to her and see
Man.
at school, it used to be a call home to mom and dad would take care of it. Now it's to try to find mom and dad to call. You know,
And that's
it's,
just,
Mom and dad are
Different.
TikTok and Instagram now. They're not even, in some cases, I will say.
so, not everywhere, but yeah,
and they're working and
yeah.
probably even different shifts.
Sure. Maybe I missed it in your presentation, but did you say how many new homes or families are applying to be foster families or foster homes year to year, or is it just?
I did put it in my initial notes, but then I took it out. As a county, we licensed, I believe it was 8 foster homes last year.
Okay.
But then on cross of that, we also lost 4. So I mean, we're gaining, but we're also losing at the same time as well.
Losing them due to restrictions or the age of the home? Maybe they're just.
There's kind of a combination of both.
Sure.
There have some that have taken kids in, established permanency, no longer have the capacity for
Gotcha.
kids.
Okay.
We've had a couple cases where it's come in as a child protection matter, and we've had to intervene and say, we're no longer gonna hold your license because of what happened in the past. It's kind of a combination.
Maybe number-wise or percent-wise, what percent of like the placement kids are, let's just say 2 years and younger? Or are we majority in our county, are we older than that? Or we don't get very many infants or toddlers?
Go ahead, Derek.
I guess like an experience from when I came here in 2018 to today, I would say that there's probably a rise more in older kids. I think that we're seeing that the mental health and the components of it are bigger and a little bit more explosive in the home.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you still see a fair share of the younger newborns and infants because they're more vulnerable, and you get more reporters on those too from hospitals and so forth, and they're born. So you still get that reporting phase of the newborns and so forth that get us involved, but that also usually comes with older kids involved too,
I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I recall when we were looking for the RFQ for the Family Resource Center, that's really focused on the abuse and neglect aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I know as a region, we are at the higher end of the scale. I wanted to say Todd County was like the 10 to 12 was our average.
Okay.
Some counties are 15, 16, and of course some are a little bit lower, but we're right in the middle.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
We've also had a lot of adoptive parents not want their adoptive kids anymore because they became too difficult or too hard and not what they wanted or experienced. So we've had a lot of like repeats of kids being adopted and put back into foster homes.
No, oh my gosh.
And that's tough
How
because, they come in
devastating.
for the right reasons and they want to make a difference and they want to help, but they realize sometimes what burdens they can put on their own children and their dynamics of their family. So, it's something that we're working on, often is trying to build that child foster care family, those numbers, and it's hard. And we appreciate each and every one of them, because without them, I mean, it gives them a good, solid home to go into typically versus putting them in institutionalizing or residential treatment, which nobody wants any of those kids to have to go to. Not that they're not good places, but to keep them, we don't have them close by. So you're taking them out of their home, their community, and their school. So as much as we can keep them local, we try to do that and support those.
I know working with corrections, you hear that when I go up to Moorhead, and you guys went up and toured also. It's, finding in-state placement for some of these kids, keeping them local. So they have still connections with their family and so forth.
And those high-need kids sometimes are having to go across the country in order to be treated, which is unfortunate, really unfortunate.
So, Madam Chair, are these families like generational, or is it, do you see a trend in that, where it's generational families of?
A lot of times, yes, John, would you say? I mean, in your work too, John, Breezy, Derek?
If you talk to an old child protection worker, you know, that's been doing this for a few years, you can track the generations. You can go back and be like, oh, I know that's Susie's kid, and that's Susie's mom is this person. It's a generational thing. It is.
Which is why we talk about, you know, often, you know, is we're sitting here going through these numbers, we talk about prevention, primary prevention, starting pre-pregnancy or when they become pregnant or expecting, you know, we know that there's a referral that comes in and we see those generational, I mean, we see the trend in the family, and we really try to work with those families on those upstream approaches. And for every dollar you invest, you generally get $6 back in return, but it's generational. So it's hard for us to say, hey, we started this new program and in 2 years, the program went away. So guess what? We chased the next dollar. And, but really those early investments pay off in the end, but typically we're not here to see that. So we have to talk about it when we can. It's a double-edged sword, but as much as we can.
Yes.
The one thing that troubles me the most about that generational need for protection and services for kids is this notion that we as the county are the bad guys. We're the cause of the problems, not the solution. And I don't know how to avoid that. I mean, maybe early intervention, maybe in schools, I don't know, but that's the thing that troubles me, where our workers who are trained and really love what they do and really care cannot overcome what the kids are hearing as soon as the workers are out of the house. They're the bad guys. Don't talk to them. Don't tell them anything. And I will also say that, and we talked about this, we talked about the delinquency numbers in my office. Technology, the ability of kids to sext and just sexualizing kids younger and younger, I think, is an issue. And hey, anybody can get marijuana now. And I don't know if they're seeing a direct correlation between access to mind-altering chemicals and antisocial behavior, but I believe it's certainly a factor. Thank you.
When you're asking about generational too, I mean, when the state's putting a mandate to put more kids with family, they're really emphasizing, if a kid goes into care, they go into family. Family is a good option, but it's not always the best option. So you're kind of creating your own cycle yourself, because the state's saying, put them with family, and the family is where they learned it from. So it's kind of a cyclical thing there as well.
Right, and it's hard because when people ask for information, as you all well know, I think I've heard from each and every one of you over my career, my tenure here. You know, a constituent has called me, so they have a concern, and we're like, we're familiar with the case, but we can't share any details of, you know, and that's what's tough, is typically we're very, very familiar, and it's pretty one-sided by the time you get it and we receive it, and we're like, So I appreciate, I mean, I know I can speak for all of us in children's services and adult services, and that the support that you give us and then offer us the grace to be able to work these cases and work them professionally and do the right thing, because that's all we're trying to do, is do the right thing, get them back in their homes, get them in a safe environment, and really give them an opportunity to be successful in life.
Commissioners, I guess, you know, as I listen to this and hear this, my major concern as employees is to be able to take care of yourselves also, because what you deal with, to me, is sometimes unbelievable. And we, every once in a while, get one that will call us, and we, like Jackie said, we get in touch with Jackie right away and say, you know, this is what we're hearing. But for you guys to deal with this all the time is just like, yeah, take care of yourselves.
Thank you. That's called secondary trauma, and we do really work with the staff on as much as we can to help them. We have EAP that I carry a folder around all the time. We try to, just to kind of keep that chaos outside of our buildings, because what they do each and every day isn't always safe, and is truly, you can't make it up. It's chaotic. It's hard to even wrap your head around some of it. But really try to give, when they walk in those doors in the campus, in the building, that this is a professional setting and we're here for each other and we operate as a team, and you have to leave the chaos at the door. But there is a lot of trauma, as everybody, I think all of us as county employees know, is hard. It's hard work because you're also sometimes working with your neighbors and your friends.
And everything is so confidential, it's not something you can go home and visit about or talk about. It's, it's something that you have to learn how to deal with, yeah.
Yeah, which also explains our rotating door of employees. Like they come in, they realize what the work is, and then they can make the same amount of money in any other department in the county. So it's an easy transfer to go do something that's less taxing and less effective.
So we truly do appreciate your support.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I only have one other thing. In my general government policy committee meeting on Friday morning, Commissioner Gardner from Candio High brought up the fact that DHS their technology is like 1980. You guys have brought it up multiple times to us. I think you're starting to hear more and more commissioners hear that because of probably lack of staff, and it takes so long to go through their programming. So you're getting the attention of some of the commissioners, which we're telling our AMC staff, hey, they need to look into this.
Thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner. It's something that we talked about too in the Health and Human Services Policy meeting last week at AMC both days. And we're really looking to prioritize the Minnesota County of Associations just priority list, and modernization was on top of the list. We have some systems that are very archaic and truly can't even meet the needs of what the federal demands are. And the federal, let me talk about the federal system, is just as archaic as the state one. And then, they talk about health systems, they mandated that they become interoperable back in 2012. So, these systems are very archaic. They cost us, it's a cost shift to the county because we are chicken scratching our numbers. I am not kidding you. We can't go in there and we can't pull data because they are struggling with workforce. I'm gonna give them that to update. But let me remind you of MNLARS. We're scared to let them touch it too, because that was such a disaster that they had to rebuild it. And that's our biggest fear. And that's something that we talked about as our MAXA Association, which is the Minnesota Association of Social Service Administrators, that I lead this year. And at what point do we say, you know what, and we haven't paid our portion of that bill for updating SSIS this year because we said, what have you done to it? What have you invested in? Where is our dollars that we have to contribute going? They couldn't answer. They still can't answer it, so we still haven't paid it. But it's a statement that had to be said to them that what you're costing us things, time in staff that we could have them actually be doing social work and work with the people versus chicken scratching and pulling numbers on our own. That it's mind blowing. And the legislature last year, or this past session, invested $10 million. That ain't touching anything. They are estimating it to be a $100 million project. But you know what? It's costing us every day. So
just give you a heads up.
Thank you, I
General government,
appreciate that.
It's on the radar, so I will make sure we keep pushing that wagon.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll get off my soapbox. It's so frustrating.
Any other comments, commissioners? Thank you. Thank you for the work you do. Appreciate it. And I appreciate you coming forward and bringing this
I'm
information
just glad
to
we
us.
thought you guys would be glazed over by this part. I mean, like, you are like
Last time
rallying 2.5 hours in. I'm like, they are gonna be so.
Point blank, they're making money at $7.50 per inmate. And it's like, how the hell you do
Hey,
that?
Jolene, can you send me that
Technology.